And me, Greg X. Can someone please get that before he does? Check. A little more volume on the mic.
We got it in the studio today. It was kind of an impromptu show. Jeremiah sends his love from Spain.
Yes, he does.
Yes, but with all the chaotic stuff going on right now, he isn't able to do his show today. And we wanted to be able to bring you more information about everything that's going on. So we decided to step up and do it ourselves. So we're here today. We're going to talk about some of the stuff that went on yesterday, which was a pretty intense experience for all of us here at Cannabis Culture.
Yeah, it was a whack day.
It was a pretty messed up day.
Yeah.
Essentially, either people were coming into work or about to come into work and found out that there was cops standing outside. They cut the locks on our Hastings location.
Actually, the warrant said that they got a locksmith, but whether he cut it or whether he cracked the codes.
Yeah, but essentially they broke in before store hours, wouldn't let us in, wouldn't let us see our cats. We found out it was part of a warrant put out from the Toronto Police Department that included 5 of our locations in Toronto, 1 in Hamilton, and I believe 1 in Ottawa was involved in the warrant as well.
Yes, it was involved in the raids yesterday as well too, and they also executed a warrant at a residence in Vancouver.
Yes, as well as one in, where is it? Stony Creek?
Yeah.
And 2 in Toronto?
Yeah, basically Mark's place, Chris and Aaron's place, Brittany's place, Jody's place.
Yeah. So it's really screwed up. All of us are kind of feeling like second-class citizens because we all just wanted to come into work.
I was just trying to do a show yesterday.
I just wanted to come and I was going to have a meeting, talk about the direction of the website, get some footage of Greg's new dispensary, but, there's a bunch of people who weren't able to go into their job. And then, meanwhile, some people are saying, well, let the cops do their job. Well, we're just trying to do our job, too. So it's kind of ridiculous.
Our job has never killed anybody. And unfortunately, those guys with guns kill people a little too often for my liking.
In fact, on the contrary, we've helped save a lot of people by providing easier access to cannabis.
There is some truth to that. Just let people smoke, would you? That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Light him if you got him. Thanks for joining us a couple minutes late, guys. It's 4:16 by the clock on the wall here.
We wanted to keep in that tradition with Jeremiah's
starting late as fuck. Shouts to the head of Ewok for holding it down. We're trying to do the best we can. I don't host Cannabis Culture News. You've done it before.
I've co-hosted before. I've played Johnny's role before, but I've never played Jeremiah's role before.
So you're Jer, so you got to slunch down in your chair, getting higher and higher, and I got to mumble incessantly and not talk into the microphone whenever I can, and say, "Anybody want to buy a Medtainer?"
The microphone.
Yeah. So that's you know what? Yeah, I think that's how we do it. We got Cannabis Culture News here. So the much better looking Jeremiah Vandermeer here, and the less good looking Johnny Burfello over here for you today. Yeah, we're gonna hold it down best we can. She'll rant. I'll be like, that's not my job, but maybe I'll rant. I don't know. It was fucked, but
it's fucked up.
Props to the Cannabis Culture crew, the staff of the lounge and headquarters for opening up again an hour after the popo had left the building, and for being in their face the whole day, and for being concerned about the cats. Because let's face it, man, everybody's concerned about the cats. I was seeing literally people go, "What about Tippy? What about Buzz?" I heard they slept through most of it, or some of them.
Bud's probably dead. He's pretty chill. I think Joey and Curtis in the store, 2 store cats, they're a little bit more anxious cats than the 2 upstairs. They're still very relaxed. The 4 cats are the most relaxed cats that I've ever met.
Hi.
But they're a little bit more anxious than Buds and Tippy, and I think they seemed like they had been stressed out. They really hate dogs, and a couple of our store staff were wondering if possibly they had a police dog in there at some point, because they were acting the same way they do when a dog comes in the store and they're not happy about it. So
Parker, be careful. Parks is joining us in the house today. It was very last minute impromptu. Hey, Craig, could we get you to come on down to the studio here? Because unfortunately, as was mentioned yesterday on my show, Expert Droids Live, which you can check the replay of after this, they ganked all the Pot TV gear.
They did.
And so even though it has no financial information, no computer records, no accounting stuff, absolutely nothing on there.
Just all our show backgrounds.
Just, yeah, show backgrounds and video clips. Ooh, that's going to be real useful in a conspiracy charge. To
Have
have
fun watching hours of interviews that are going to have absolutely nothing to do with
it. You've also got my logo file now, so if you're going to use that, please best believe I will come after you for copyright infringement. If you use my logo without authorized permission.
Let them do some plugs for you.
Yeah, right. Hey, that's make sure you plug Expert Joints. You'll check us across social, Twitter, Instagram, online. We're doing what we can. Yeah, so anyway, it was because like I said, being not a Cannabis Culture employee or a Pot TV employee, technically, I just do my show here because they let me. And I want a studio to do it in. And, it works well. I get some shine. They get an extra show on the network. But anyway, they called and said, hey, do you think we can borrow your computer for the day so we can do a show? And I said, Carly, I'll be right there. And so I'll just sit here and look pretty.
Pot TV fam, pull through.
Right? Coming through.
Speaking of CC fam, we have our new editor for Cannabis Culture magazine who's here today. And he was there yesterday because he was just trying to come into the office and be a journalist and sit at his desk and work on his computer, and he was locked out. So he's here to tell us about his perspective. He also wrote a really amazing article about, his views on the whole thing, and it's really great representation of Cannabis Culture's views. So if you're curious, you can find that article.
Happy 420!
Oh, happy 420!
Woo!
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I know I sparked mine just a
camera
half a
too.
second. Then it was coming.
Awesome. Did you want to hop on for a little bit and say hello? Awesome. We got some room for you in the hot seat there.
I think we've got a mic for him as well there somewhere as well too. Doing it.
Believe so. Take my 420
Tiki talk.
Yeah, sure.
I did hash dice with Remo on Wednesday, and he's got the little timer. It's like the dab timer that also has the works as a carb cap. That's what I was trying to say. Timer cap. Sorry.
I'm trying to remember to talk into the mic and blow smoke into the camera, and I just accidentally blew smoke into the mic for the first time.
I've tried to dab the microphone before as well too. I've tried to take a bong rip off the microphone before too.
I did that last show for the first time. I went to take a hoot from the mic. It's funny.
It happens. So Alyssa's helping us engineer. Shouts to Alyssa, front page girl. We call her around here. We're calling her front page news. That's her new boss, Alyssa, killing it.
There's amazing photos of Alyssa with herself stubbornly parked in front of the VPD's trucks where they were
Get the fuck out of the way, bitch.
Our stuff out of the back alley. And it was great because most people were in the front of the store, which was creating a really good presence on the street. But her sitting there defiantly, even though they were going to pull away anyways, was a really good message to those cops that were on the side.
I think a few people from the side ended up going over because they didn't realize they were smoking.
Definitely. The stream kept, jumping back and forth. Shouts to everybody who jumped on there. We had like 7 roving Pot TV reporters yesterday. Basically, whoever had 20% left in their battery jumped on, did some stream for a minute, and then came back. I'm getting phone calls. Can we come to your house and charge the batteries? We can't get in. And I'm like, yeah, all right. I was ready to come do a stream from Victory Park or the new coffee shop, of course. I even figured what would have been nice and ironic is if I did the show yesterday from inside of Crosstown.
Mm-hmm.
That would have worked out well. The fuck?
So we got Dan here. Dan, can you tell us, you're kind of new to the CC, working in the office and stuff like that, probably getting used to the positive vibes you got here, what we've got going on at CC.
Yeah, it's been nice here lately.
How did it feel when you came in yesterday to try to come into work when you saw the cops standing out there?
Well, I mean, it's one of those things when I was informed before that Jody and Mark had been arrested, and then on my way here, I was informed that there was police here. It was about 10 o'clock in the morning, and I mean, it was somewhat confusing because this is not a dispensary. There's no massive amounts of product kept here. And it became very clear, particularly once we got in the building, that what was taken had nothing to do with cannabis products. It was a political organization or political motivation. I mean, on my ride to work, I passed at least a dozen dispensaries who were being able to operate unmolested. Police wasn't concerned about them. I passed the corner of Hastings in Maine, where I undoubtedly passed at least 20 drug deals going down at that moment, right?
Yeah.
And the police were completely uninterested with that. But they come into a place like this, particularly particularly in the Pot TV studios and the magazine office, which are, independently funded journalism agencies. We do not get our funding from the sale of any dispensary operation, even the glassware. We are independently funded by our ad revenues.
Yep, and by our fantastic sponsors who make it happen.
Absolutely. And I have had the good fortune in my career to work in a lot of different places, some places that people consider to be tyrannical governments or developing parts of the world, and I have never had my production equipment stolen from me.
Wow.
And so to come from, working in, say, West Africa and then be in, East Vancouver and have the police roll in and say, this is evidence. Well, at what point this is documentary footage. At what point does the Fifth Estate or someone from CBC have their cameras stolen because
we have a right to press.
Absolutely. And the fact that they displaced our routers, they removed our ability to broadcast.
That's what they were trying to do. They're trying to interrupt our communication system.
And that is the very essence of tyranny. That is things that happened under Stalin. That is not an appropriate in a year when we've been, we're 2 years removed from an election in which we were told that cannabis was about to be legalized. It was one of the major referendums in that federal election.
Platforms for sure.
And you look at the headlines the day after, and it was hope versus fear. Well, all they're doing now is using fear tactics, and so. It's arguable that it was a better climate for a company like Cannabis Culture to operate under the Conservatives, under Harper, when it wasn't, when at least it was done in the open.
Yeah, whoever would have many more raids under the Trudeau government than there was under the Harper government.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, who would have ever thought that Stephen Harper would have been the lesser of two evils?
Well, what
is up with that, Trudeau? You're supposed to be the progressive one.
You smoked weed with Mark Emery before.
What that indicates to me, really, though, is that what we're studying, we are moving towards legalization. Yes, this is a train that will inevitably reach station. It's always going to happen. But why they're dragging their feet and why they're holding back and putting all these really explicit regulations in place is because they simply want to be able to control the supply chain. Because when you control the supply chain, you control the money. And I read today that Mr. Mark Emery, our founder and all of our boss, I guess, sent $400,000 in HST in already from Cannabis Culture locations that operate dispensaries.
Don't surprise me.
So the tax revenue that they're developing already, and now they've arrested them as doing something illegal, yet they accepted the tax money.
Well,
where's the connection there?
Well, you want to know why we really got raided here? If you saw on Monday, they made the announcement that cannabis wouldn't be recreational until at least 2018. On Tuesday, the stocks dropped. On Thursday, they raided us. On Friday, stock prices rose.
And who are these companies?
Are believing or noticed too that the times with the stock markets fluctuating, it seemed that the stock market was starting to go down right after we opened an Ottawa location, which is not far from where some of the LP's headquarters are. And as soon as we got raided, the stock market went up. The cannabis stocks went up something like 38% after we got raided. So our dispensaries have a direct impact on the corporate cannabis world.
Okay, absolutely.
We are the culture of cannabis.
And the fluctuations of the stock market are very dependent upon the confidence of investors. And where is an investor most confident? Where they don't have any variables. What are variables? People. Yep. Where there's no people trying to do things outside of the way that they want to make money, then they can make as much money as they want. It's the tyranny of Latin America in the 1970s and 80s with the United Fruit concerns. It's all these places where they tried to take natural product resources and monopolize them. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Big companies are stepping in and trying to create a corporate controlled market, just like tobacco and alcohol and everything else. And during the Neil Allard case, I recall John Conway saying that, we all recognize that in this game there's going to be a Budweiser at the top.
Yep.
But at the same time, we still need the freedom and to keep room for the small craft brewer. The craft grower wants to target whatever strain it is they found effective for themselves and wants to basically just do this on their own. So.
Yeah, there should be room for everyone. Malmo says it well when he says there's a lot of people who aren't rich that just want to be able to grow this plant for a living. And our legalization model should include everyone from the sick, the young, and the poor. Anyone who wants to be included in the cannabis market who has good intentions should be able to be included in the cannabis market.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting because there's a lot of money still in the corporate cannabis. I have a friend who has multiple stocks, and I gave her a full earful about the LPs, but she told me she had invested in Aurora. And she told me it's the only stock where she's like really made money. You know, a lot of the time stocks, it's more of a game. It's a bit of an up
Oh, it's speculative dollars.
But the Aurora stock, it puts money in her bank account more so than any of the other stocks.
You know what I would like to? I would like to put some weed in my Medtainer. What you got next for me, Marley?
Ooh. We got some orange Tangie
From
Cannabis Culture Beauty.
That's what? Is it open?
It is open.
Are all the cannabis cultures open?
Pretty much.
Yay!
I don't think all of the Torontos are open. I could be wrong.
I think 3 out of the 5 Torontos are open. I think Ottawa's open, and
Ottawa is open.
And I think all of Vancouver's open.
All of Vancouver is open. This lounge stuff, man, everyone did such an amazing job. Everyone in the community here.
Oh my God, within an hour we wrote it. So for those of you who haven't seen it yet, I just posted it like literally 10 minutes before the show started. The cats from Cannabis Life Network came through yesterday to shoot my show because they usually do. And they shot a bunch of video out in front and some of the inside. And there's a little minute and a half little recap video of what happened yesterday out from them. Why I'm bringing it up is because it shows you got... What the hell is wrong with you? Neil Magnuson hollering at them. You got Ann out there. You got Dominique in there. You got Carly in there. People are just trying to access their fucking jobs. It was fantastic. Just the passion and the emotion coming from the community.
And we had random members of the public at large honking their horns and doing whatever else they could to make sure that their input was taken seriously too. I mean, there was so much more involvement than simply the employees. The employees were just trying to get to work, and like they held their ground. Every single person who was here held their ground, and that's amazing. But there was widespread we had bus drivers beeping at us. City bus
taxi drivers.
Taxi drivers. Just people trying to go to work. Just people trying to go to their job. Like everyone in this room was trying to go to their job.
So, for me, it always breaks my heart when there's a raid, but when it's my place of work where it doesn't feel like a dispensary here at all because it's not a dispensary. We don't have large amounts of pot, and I come here and I do pretty corporate stuff. I'm not even like selling vape bags or anything like that. I'm literally doing social media, the same thing a lot of companies are doing.
Yep.
And when I tried to get into work, it made me feel, and I said it yesterday on the show, it made me feel like a second-class citizen because I choose to consume cannabis. How do you feel about that? You know,
I found this really, this is kind of off topic, but Alyssa, I remember you down there when they were talking about this, the CTV camera guy and the cop. They're blocking us from access to a location because of whatever archaic marijuana law. Apparently, police in Vancouver have a little inside wager going that if they appear on camera or if they appear on TV or in the newspaper, they owe the rest of their crew a 24 a beer. It's called the media tax.
Well, they got taxed the fuck out.
So
yesterday.
There's a couple guys in there. There's so many pictures of them. I'm sure they're in the hundreds of beers open. Like that's many around. And I mean, hats off to you.
We had 600-some thousand people watch the streams yesterday.
Yeah. I think we've got the views on our live stream that we did yesterday. I have the raid happening here at 307. The views are at 192,000 now.
Yeah, so reach of over 500,000.
Thank you for your support. Thank you to everyone who shared it. If you haven't watched it yet, you should go watch it. It's pretty informative. Put a lot of pressure on the cops. So.
Do you guys want to see that little video? Do you guys want to take a video break at one point? We never talked about that. Do you want to load that later? Or?
Well, the video from the raid is about an hour.
But I got that minute and a half little
minute and a half? Yeah, we should totally load that one in. We also have the
aftermath, or
Facebook. We have David Malmalovine put together a protest. I didn't send a list of the link, but I think she'd be able to find it.
We'll try and see if we can't drop these. And we literally scrambled this together at the last minute.
I talked to Jeremiah at about 3 o'clock. Normally I spend about 18 hours setting up for a show. Today I had one. So
yeah, I do 2 days before it, and I got here at 3:30. So I'll see if you guys talk for a minute. But I agree with you. As an independent and as a media person, I felt violated as fuck. Not on the cannabis, but my art, my media, my work, my intellectual property that is not Cannabis Culture's property, that is not Pot TV's property, that is just my own Expert Joints property. That has nothing to do with the mechanics of the operation or the money or the anything that goes. It is just strictly is on that computer, and that has now been taken stolen too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They took the cell phones out of the lost and found box.
Well, I don't think this is coincidence either, because the thing is, we're different than a lot of dispensaries.
Absolutely,
but we, for decades first, were a media source and a source of cannabis information.
Predate YouTube by 5 years, is it not?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I question the idea of taking cell phones that were someone left here. Like, it was just in a box because somebody forgot their phone, so the police confiscate those. What possible connection can be made beyond trying to make people afraid? Don't go there. If you forget your phone, it's going to end up in the cops' hands.
That's probably it. I
all-
think in terms of taking all the other social media, they recognized the second we got in,
Mhm.
as soon as we had access to our devices, we would do everything we could to get the message out. But of course we did it anyways, because no matter how much pressure the police or the government put on us, cannabis culture is going to keep fighting for fair access to cannabis all across Canada and across the world.
Absolutely.
So-
I mean, and internet blackouts and communications breakdowns and things. These are the tactics of the Syrian government and Iran when they had their Twitter revolution. They shut down the internet. They come in and they blank out spaces to silence people, and that's. Really, I mean, everyone's going to look and be, well, it's not that bad. Well, it's not that bad yet. And we're in this, it's the whole problem. Everything about this isn't about rules or justice or anything like that. It's about strict adherence. It's about acknowledging and bowing to the power as it exists.
So there's multiple other cannabis businesses in the area, right next door, like
Across the
3
street.
across the street, many right down the street from us as well. What do you think their motivations were? Why they were targeting us, and they felt it was okay to ignore all of the other businesses with similar models, if not more in-your-face models than the ones we have here.
Well, I mean, it's surely the old logic that if you want to kill a snake, you cut the head off.
They came here
and
strictly
this
gathering
is
information, evidence.
strictly gathering information, strictly getting political information stuff. They're trying to find out what the supply is, where we get it, where it comes from. This is the information they want. They don't care about the actual product. They want to know what the
financial
mechanism
records, any transactions,
And I mean-
paperwork and all that stuff. They're just trying to build a case.
is. Like this morning, I was in the location downstairs in the store. And a gentleman walked in, pushed open the door, and said, "Screw Mark Emery, I hope he gets another 5 years." And the person working said, "Okay, see you later. Have a nice day." And the guy stomped out, then came back and said, "420 up yours. Give the street dealers a chance." So the people,
the people who are against us is the people that wanted the street dealers.
the street dealers, people who are selling to kids. This month we ID everyone who comes in the door.
And now by street dealers, don't think that we mean anyone who's typically on the black market. When we use that kind of term, there's a difference between mom and pop grows who supply to their friends, make enough of a living, and they do it with good intentions, and people who go and find some young kid at a high school and say, "Hey, want to make a lot of money," and give them pot and then take whatever the flip
Absolutely, and there's a huge difference between a collective or a cooperative and something that's regulated strictly through violence, And I mean, the whole idea behind some of the dispensary regulations that they're still pushing for, like how you can't be within 300 meters of a school or a community center. Newsflash, people, I bought my first weed in my 8th grade classroom. So anyone who's thinking that they're keeping weed out of the schools is just generally and grossly naive.
And that Mac's store that's right across the street from the school?
Yeah.
It's got cigarettes in it. It's got sugar in it. It's got all sorts of fucking non-sugar products, all sweeteners in it, all the bad shit. It's got Tylenols in there. It's got it's got water in there. Did you know that all of those other things can kill you? But did you know that weed can't kill you?
Every single substance there is, you can overconsume and die. Water.
Yeah,
I did.
Not cannabis.
Yo,
Yeah, right.
I did. Hey,
The only substance that it's impossible to consume too much.
Think of the children.
Least dangerous substance.
to be fair and to play devil's advocate here, I did once hear Willie Nelson say that a friend of his died because a bale of marijuana fell on him. So that there is one death.
Okay, that's the only actual
Marijuana-related death,
that
not related to the prohibition.
That's interesting.
Cannabis killed one.
That's I've never heard that. That's really interesting.
Good old Willie knows.
So we've got a video here, and it's from Cannabis Life Network. Expert Joints is gonna set that up for us here. See if that works.
What the hell's wrong with you people? Oh my God! Why don't we just scare all the pot users in Canada? That's a good idea.
You should be ensuring their safety, not ensuring that people who are trying to go to work can't even get in the fucking building.
It's been a big day for media. Well, what can I say? But everything is very sketchy and literally changing by the minute right now. Mark and Jody have been held over for a second day. The bail hearing was put off till Friday. Ottawa and most of the Toronto stores were raided. None of the Vancouver stores were raided. Cannabis Culture, 307 West Hastings location was taken over by the police for about 6 hours this morning, where they came in, seized computers and paperwork and documents, trying to find any sort of information they could to help they feel with their case against Jody and CC. Also picked up in Toronto was Chris and Aaron Goodwin and Brittany from Hamilton. All of them all got snatched up and are waiting to meet some judge or something tomorrow.
Shame on you guys, shame on
If they have a right to pay my bit, my choice.
you. Should walk away, buddy. You should walk away.
So that is unfortunate. That is all we know, as far as I know at this point. Within a couple hours, or within an hour of them being in here, they were back open downstairs and in the lounge to start putting everything back together. Mics are back.
Oh, I hadn't seen that video before.
No, that just came out about 15 minutes before the show
Epic.
started. That's the first time that's really been seen by the mass.
That's a really well put together video.
Well, that's how we do it. I mean, that's how I roll. But no, what was really amazing to see was you, was Neil, was Ann, was Dominique, was all the staff from the store, the general public, who all came out there and assembled to make that happen. Plus, whether the media is out there to stuff for themselves or just for ratings or not, but I mean, lots of media coverage. There was a lot of attention, man. I got calls from all around the world, literally calls and messages from all around. Are you okay? How's cannabis culture? Are you guys back? What's going on? Give updates. It was a crazy, crazy fucking day, man. We haven't seen the likes of that around here in over a
I think
decade.
everybody's phone's ringing off the hook. I did Globe and Mail, CTV, CBC Radio, Sirius Satellite Radio Today, and what else? There's a couple other agencies, BCIT, Journalism School.
Yeah, I got hit with 2 places just walking up to the building.
Absolutely. I mean, it still has the headlines, just illegal dispensaries raided, or illegal dispensaries possibly connected to organized crime.
I like Vice. They have their pretty standard Mark and Jody arrested. But the top part that they had above the article is it's 2017 and this shit is still happening.
Right.
I was like,
Totally.
Vice.
Yo, I mean, the store that they broke into, what do you sell out there most of the time? Like,
This has been like one of
Bongs,
the most
rolling
it's
papers.
a staple in the community. That's
Fucking
the thing. This is
stab tools.
the
Pins.
heart of the cannabis community in Vancouver in so many ways.
I bought some lotion there, Trailer Park Boys playing cards.
I got Ashtray there one time.
So,
Yeah.
like, I
I
mean,
bought a lot of got
Some
there.
dab cleaners.
That when I
Yo,
bought
and an
that
ashtray
glass, that was
can also be
support
used
for
to hold
local
pennies.
artists.
I got a nail one time just before the show started. You know how handy it was? So I had one company who gave me a piece of equipment, and unfortunately there was a problem with the equipment at the last, but literally 7 minutes before the show started. You know how convenient it is to be able to run downstairs and buy yourself a new e-nail when you need one, and be back upstairs and it's turned on and it's heated in less than 5 minutes. Come on, man.
Or
Everybody
there's
has the right to
times
that.
I'm like putting
I
my
picked
rig
up-
together and I'll just turn and I just drop my banger on the floor and it smashes and I'm like, well,
Give me the banger.
yeah.
I picked
And
up
just
one
run
of
down
those
the
like
floor.
spandexy cannabis culture shirts.
You look good in spandex,
Thank
I know.
you, I know. But the spandexy cannabis culture shirt with the weed leaves all over it, I wear that as my rash guard at jiu-jitsu. It's a hit. It's a big hit with the crowd there.
Right? Cannabis culture is a big hit with
Gracie Baja.
everybody. My cab driver on the way home was like, "Man, you guys got fucked today." Hey, I said, "Well, they tried."
They're not going to stop us though. I think it.
Of course
it was, Melissa said it perfectly. She didn't even need to say anything. Her staff, the second the lounge, a few people walked in, kind of analyzed the damage. We brought the rest of our staff in, and it was like a factory workers or something. It was literally like lineups, people going, bringing out the furniture super quickly. They did everything that they could to get it open as fast as possible and as quickly as possible, give people a safe place to smoke.
Absolutely, and they were left with a mess on their hands. They took all the art off the walls.
Yeah, why didn't they take the paintings off the wall?
Criminal activity.
The part is like, I get it, they're looking for
100 wall
safe
safes.
or something like that, but they only did it to like one wall. If you're gonna do it, then
They already
take it out every
and they
single
did
kitchen
blow a
left.
safe open. So I mean,
They
eventually,
blew the safe open. They blew the safe open in the store too.
I think they blew their nose.
prying open
Load
file
up
cabinets, like everything was just left completely in shambles.
Yep.
And that's as much of a message as anything else. We came in, we messed up your store, get out of town. This is Old West stuff.
Yeah, well, then our story is, well, we're still here. The show went on. I was going to do the broadcast from, like I said, across the street if I had to, but we were lucky we got back into the studio with a couple hours to go and still had a hard line to plug into, and we're still here next day.
Absolutely. I mean, there's certainly so many challenges upcoming quickly. Like this 420, I mean, they said, no, we're not going to give a permit, and now
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But at the same time, last year, from what I hear, the parks people went around making sure the garbage cans were acceptable or accessible.
They bought the garbage cans, and we were going to take away our piles of garbage.
And then they deliberately
and then
didn't.
they said, no, don't. we're going to come in and bring trucks in and we'll take care of it. So we said, okay, if that's what you want it to be up to you, we'll leave it up to you. Then they waited till the morning when animals and people had kind of strewn the garbage about. They went and did a press conference in front of the piles of garbage.
Oh, yeah.
And they went, oh my God, look at all the garbage they left. When they literally said, no, go home.
Oh yeah, they sent their fax into CTV and said, "Okay, come out. We got some pictures for you to take." I was talking to the CT cameraman. The thing he did before this was he was doing a story on potholes. Like, I mean, they're so struggling for news that they send him anything.
It's alphabetical.
Anything.
Potholes,
pot raids, you know. But anything that's just an easy story is what the media is going to cover. So they're going to come up and be like, "Look at all that trash, those terrible stoners."
Well, here's the thing that
the majority of their crowd is going to look at it and be like, "Oh, those terrible stoners."
Well, what's going to happen now at this point? 420 wasn't started by cannabis culture. 420 was started by people who smoke weed 40 some years ago, 50 some years ago, and it became a time, it became a movement, it became part of the culture. Just as the gathering at the art gallery, which has now become Sunset Beach, is bigger than cannabis culture. It's bigger than us. It's going to happen one way or the other. People are going to get together and smoke weed. But if you don't have one organization step up and take on the responsibility, there will be garbage everywhere. There will be no security. There will be no ambulance. There will be no organization to it. There will be no proper scale and no safety.
It was cannabis culture, though, who helped orchestrate 420, the celebration as a day, though.
Sure.
Because a few activists went to Mark and they said, here, and I need really
well, yeah, we would like to do this over at Victory Square. And it was activists who said it to Mark. And Mark said, a whole day? You guys are crazy. Well, if that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it. But it was still the people, not the company, who started it. Cannabis culture has been there to support it right from the minute that the people brought it up. But that's besides the point. And at this point, we need to be the ones to take the role in it, because who else is going to do it? And to making it difficult, the more and more difficult they make it for us and the harder for us to do it, they're just making it more difficult on themselves. If they give us the opportunity to work with us properly, like any other organization, selling liquor, selling shit, anything you want, they'll sell it to you out there in a festival. Why can't we do what we need to do? You say because it's illegal? Well, as Jeremiah would say, show us the victims.
The prime words that you used there was, they'll sell it to us.
Yep.
You know what the thing is, though? What's stupid about this whole thing is that the argument that was presented to the Parks Board by the representatives that do the research, and they say this is the decision you should make, they said, give them the permit. They will have to pay you. We know that there's only so much you can do to enforce a permit, but if we give them a permit, then we can at least say, hey, you have a permit, follow these rules. Yeah. So what it would actually do is give us more responsibility. We would have to listen to what they say more, and we would pay them a bunch of money. And on top of that, we would have to get insurance, which would cost a lot of money for us, but it would mean that the city, the Parks Board, doesn't have to get the insurance.
And it would cover some of the cost that the city is like, we get stuck with policing, we get stuck with all this. Well, we would have covered some of that. But they even said, which is, well, we're not going to give them the permit, and we know they're still going to do the event anyway. Well, if cannabis culture is, and the people are still going to show up there and smoke weed en masse, and it'll be a lot fucking harder. Let us do it properly, work with us to do it properly, and it'll be a world-class event like it's going to be, and like Jeremiah always puts together.
Totally. But when you look at things that are grossly unjust, as this all is, at some point you have to realize that there is someone benefiting from it, and those who are benefiting from it are the ones who are pushing it forward.
Yeah. Stock price is up 30%.
Stock price is up 30% because at the end of the day, we're all sitting here, and the real issue is money. The real issue is what cannabis is worth, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry in this province alone.
And because nationwide, it's worth so much,
I mean, like we said, already $400,000 in HST from cannabis culture to the government. And the fact that money's been accepted, then to arrest someone for the act that got them to get that HST tax dollar, would that not then make the government complicit in accepting funds from proceeds of crime? Yeah. So, I mean, there's so much hypocrisy and so much. But again, we go back to the idea that they'll sell it to us. They don't want that freedom. They don't want anyone to be able to do anything on their own. The more tied to government, the more tied to some sort of overarching controlling factor.
They're trying to get their hands on the $200 million in tax revenue that came from Colorado in last year alone.
Minimum.
Times. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's what their ambitions are.
And I mean,
it's just financial, and that's why they're making such a control.
Absolutely. That's what everything is. I mean, it's either governments typically hide behind whatever it is, whether it's God, the flag, or the children, and really the only motivation is money.
Sorry, we're just laughing at a troll in the chat telling everyone that weed is the devil's lettuce.
Nice.
It's like that's literally one of the stereotypical
That's
Reaper
a
Madness
wicked
lines.
band
Like,
name, I think.
Are you
Devil's
It is a
from,
Lettuce.
band,
what was
I'm
it,
sure.
That's gotta be.
1940? Like, can you come to
Well,
the century?
Yeah, there's a
maybe?
band around the city called Satan's Cape. And I've been trying to bring that
Have you
in as like a
personally
phrase
consumed
in
the
the
lettuce?
language
Do you
where
know
something's
this
really
for
good.
yourself?
See, my problem is right now I can't eat lettuce because I got that jaw issue thing going
So
on.
you
So I
gotta
got to
smoke it
blend everything.
instead?
I got to smoke the lettuce. It's the only way I got to get my greens is to get my balanced nutrition because all those fruit fucking smoothies just don't include it. I got to puree spinach. I got to puree fucking. I got this recipe with some romaine lettuce we made on the show. I brought the Vitamix to the show a couple weeks ago. We're handing out smoothies and shit. Weed infused, of course. But yes, man, the devil's lettuce is awful. If you're a jazz musician, also, if you're a darkie, it might make you feel equal to whites.
And if you're a white woman, it might seduce you to be with a black man.
That's right.
That devil's lettuce.
Dun, dun,
No.
dun. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is go listen to some jazz music or something. Oh my God, Harry
Oh,
Anslinger.
don't. No. How
Please.
could you?
Nothing like 100-year-old
the
brainwashing. I mean, it takes
humanity.
90 years to undo 90 years of brainwashing. Is unfortunately going to take a generation or two. Now, we did have somebody who grew up listening to Snoop and shit in the White House, and he admitted that he was like, I inhale kind of frequently. That was the point.
Yeah.
So and even Trump, even Agent Orange has been more
Agent
progressive.
Orange. That's brilliant. I love that.
Even Agent Orange has been more fucking progressive on this shit. I mean, they're sort of been teetering on the fence and dangling the carrot and stuff. But as of late,
course.
it half sounds. The latest sort of flip flop is that it sounds like it could be. Well, maybe we won't fuck with it that bad after all.
Well, I mean, the story came out this week that his attorney general has taken major money from the tobacco companies. Too. Like this is how it works.
Yeah, well, and then he talks to Russia, but who cares if he talks to Russia? And God, please, just somebody get rid of that whole organization. Anyway, but yeah, who would have thought that our prime minister got elected talking about legalizing, and it was now prohibiting, and we've got the Don with his comb over and Kush.
I mean, if you look at it and break it down, the four major promises of the election were electoral reform. How'd that go?
Super awesome. Oh wait, no, it didn't.
They just threw their hands up in the air and said, we can't pull it off.
We can't do that.
Tax breaks for the middle class.
Oh, that worked. That didn't work out.
Wait, they canceled that program too.
Yeah, hang on. No, yeah, they totally did.
Then the pipeline projects. Which pipeline project? Was it the Harper projects that have come through under Trudeau? Oh, exactly. The Harper
does
projects.
seem because they're protecting the environment and yeah.
Then you have the
And they care
legalization
about
of cannabis.
Aboriginal rights.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that too. Yeah.
Like I recall, what was it, 2014? We're all standing at 420, and there was a giant zigzag man of Justin Trudeau.
Oh, that pissed him off.
And we were. Do you think so? Do you think so, or did that convince people that they should vote that way?
It totally did.
It did. It helped
we
him.
helped him win the pot smokers
Big time.
vote, and he totally played into it.
Yeah.
And he lied, and he took advantage of us, and it's fucked up. There was it was like record-breaking numbers of young voters came
Absolutely.
out. Those are the young stoners who went, that's a government I can get behind, but this isn't the kind of government we want to get behind. This is not the government we voted for at all.
You shook my mom's hand. You gave her a hug, kissed her on the cheek, and said thank you very much. And you were honored to meet her, and you were all that stuff. And you did your whole political bullshit in Calgary at a Stampede fucking breakfast because that's what they do. They eat pancakes and sausage just in the middle of the streets through the month of July. It's ridiculous. There's a lot of beer involved. It's a good time. But yeah, you came out and lied to my mom's face that you'd be good for this country. You've
Neil-
already disappointed her.
Neil
Shame on you.
was saying yesterday that he had the opportunity. Here's a dab for you, by the way. I think it's
Thanks.
ready to go.
Okay. Is that hotted and hotted?
Yeah, it should be good.
Okay. Oh, by the way, guys, Parker decided that he needed to come to the show today.
We have a third show host today.
The silent assassin.
Neil was saying he had an opportunity to meet Trudeau, and he said that Trudeau shook his hand. And when Neil said, "I hope you respect, cannabis users and Canadians' right to individual sovereignty," and he said he would do that. So he shook Neil's hand and lied to him in the face. Neil's pissed. I asked Neil Magnuson if he can make it down today. I don't know if he's going to be able to or not, but yeah, it's a pretty fucked up situation. I think there's a lot of Canadians really disappointed with what they've seen happen with Trudeau. And I mean, there's a lot of people saying, well, you should have known when you voted for Trudeau. But the thing is, a democracy works when you stand behind the platforms. You have to vote for the government you think. When they're saying, we're going to do this, the way you make your voice heard is going, yeah, we want someone who's going to do that. So it's disappointing that basically all politicians are full of shit, but we're still going to stand behind the party that says they're going to make the change, but it's not happening, and we're
It's
pissed.
so easily hijacked. Like democracy. I mean, I always go back to the Winston Churchill quote: "Democracy is the absolute worst system we've ever, the absolute worst system, except for every one we've ever tried." And I mean, it is a good thing that we're able to inform ourselves and say, yes, these people represent our interests. But at the end of the day, they represent the interests of those who provide money for them in their campaigns on a provincial level, on a federal level. Politicians are owned like any other product or commodity. They're simply a means of power.
Nice hair, though.
It's just so frustrating. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. It's such a ridiculous situation. I think one of the hardest parts was how many people who are normally there are most energetic and bouncy and bubbly and happy stuff, and the kind of people when they walk into the room, you're like, yeah, because they're just full of life. And I just come up and I just see them sitting there looking completely drained, heartbroken, barely able to hold back tears, just sitting there sadly smoking a joint. And it absolutely is heartbreaking. It was like every single person in my family having, their home ripped apart. It's just, such a horrible situation for us to go through.
I saw the cats in the front window of the shop this morning, and they were like sleeping together and hugging each other. You could tell they were both terrified. Now that's not acceptable. You can do a lot of things, but don't scare the cats.
Yeah. No, they should have at least, they could have let somebody go in and comfort them or something. They didn't even tell us what was going on with them for so long, and we normally feed them as soon as we get there, and we didn't get in there for hours. And the poor cats had their place ripped apart.
The real innocent victims.
Yeah. And some people were like, oh, don't worry about the cats. They're going to be fine, whatever. But these cats live here. This is their home. So, I mean, when you're an animal and you don't understand and all of a sudden these like intimidating people come in and start literally ripping stuff off the walls, tossing around furniture, taking things away, that's scary. That's terrifying. That's a traumatic experience.
So on energy and shit like that.
And these are our pets. Every single one of the staff members, like, we feed them ourselves, we take care of them ourselves. So they're like kind of all of our pets. So that's imagine your dog being locked in there when the cops were going through your house, how fucked up that would feel. That's scary shit.
I heard that Buds was actually a 10% owner of the company. That's what I had heard, actually. I don't know if there's any truth to that rumor, but
I think him and Tippy are equal partners.
See, now Tippy, I can see that from, because he don't take shit from nobody. I figure that's probably what happened. So when they took the art off the wall, they were trying to build a pen to keep Tippy out of the way, because Tippy was like, "Hey, this is my house."
That, or he was scrapping with him, and they just got all knocked down.
Exactly right. They were trying to he's trying to kick him out.
He's a very talkative cat, and he lets you know if you're pissing him off or if he wants something from you. So I imagine the whole time stuff was going on, he was giving them quite the earful.
This little shit sits outside the studio sometimes when I'm getting ready on Thursdays. And I'm like, look, I'm sorry, I'm allergic to you. I don't really want anything to do with you. It's your house. I guess I'll let you walk through. Or I try and convince him to go to the other lounge or something like that. Go see someone
Tippy,
give a
when
sandwich.
Tippy wants something, Tippy gets what Tippy wants. So I'm sure the cops got an earful from him. Really messed up situation. So you wrote a really well put together article after the raid that we've shared on Cannabis Culture on our Facebook as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that article? You're welcome. Tell us about that.
I mean, it was just sort of a stream of consciousness piece about, I am relatively new to the Cannabis Culture family. I started my position just after the new year. There's been some transition time. But today it felt like this was the right pushing off point where I really had to dive in, I had to. It was a time when you can't sit on the sidelines to
step up.
Sports cliches, but sometimes they work. So I don't know. I just felt this was what I saw. This is what I felt from the experience. This was, I don't know. I mean, there's things that were just so shocking to me. And as I stated before, as someone who I've been in the journalism game. I mean, I've worked for CBC, for Journalists for Human Rights, various other agencies in far-reaching parts of the globe, as well as in our home country here. And I've never had police be so disrespectful towards something like a fifth estate, towards something that's supposed to be the checks and balances. I mean, that's what I was told in journalism school. Well, if people fear police, then police should fear journalists. And it appears they do, because they took the tools that we have to do our job and to reach the massive audience that we do have. Like, I mean, on
With our fake news.
with a fake, well, I mean, and, you know, that is how it will be discounted. It would be like, oh, this is fake news. But I mean, it's an industry magazine, no different than a Vancouver Business magazine or anything else that specifies in a very, concentrated market. And I mean, we're branching out beyond that, but at the same time, we are at ground zero and in the epicenter of the best place to be reporting on the movement in this industry right now, because this is where it's happening. And
That's
so
how we do it.
Exactly.
Because it's important. This is where the home of BC Bud. This is where home of culture is. What happens here trickles down.
Let's get down to that. This is the home of the BC Marijuana Party as well.
Yeah.
To have,
Yep.
I mean, that's
Political
some Watergate
placement.
level raiding files from a rival political party's offices has been proven quite unacceptable on a number of different occasions. So, I mean, you look at it, I mean, I'm sure the general public would be like, oh, it's just pot people. It's just just an expression of government proving once again that they're not interested in legitimate authority or listening to the voice of the people. They're interested in power. They're interested in telling us what we have to do.
So can you tell us the name of the article and where to find it? I just want to hear you say the name. It's such a good one.
I called it, when they try to bury us, they forget we are seeds. And I must acknowledge that is a proverb a Mexican proverb that was part of the indigenous culture there when they were oppressed by the Spanish colonials and were murdered and had, their homes taken and their villages burned and everything else. That was sort of a rallying cry for them. And it was, the Pancho Villas of the world. And basically it's just been a means of expression for oppressed people. And I think what happened yesterday was explicit oppression.
Oh, it was nothing but, man. Yesterday was just a straight targeted, okay, we need some dirt on Jody and Mark and CC, and we're just going to go to the head office, and we're going to clean out their office, and we're going to peace out, and that's going to be that. And they're going to send it all to Toronto, and it's going to continue with their investigation there. And
I will mention, though, it was really cool to be on the same street as Elton John.
That was really dope. What I thought even cooler, Elton John likes Tech Nine.
Apparently he's a gangster rap fan.
Big gangster rap fan.
I wonder if he left. What was it about this day that he had to buy that record?
Well, it was Biggie's 20th.
That
Biggie's
probably
20th.
was it.
Wow. Elton John.
March 9th.
Brilliant performer.
Right.
So I was
the only
say,
disappointment my biggest disappointment from yesterday, actually, is in Carly Marley. If I'm being honest with it, I have to be honest with you, girl. I'm a little disappointed in you. When you see Elton John, you say, "Hey, Sir Elton, you want to smoke a joint?"
Thank you.
You have to anytime you see the celebrity, say, "Hey, so and so, you want to smoke a joint?"
Okay, I was so starstruck.
Damn it, Marley.
I was so, and you know what? I grew up listening to, me and my mom always listened to Elton John and Bowie together. Those are two. We'd be doing in the house together, house cleaning, getting ready for anything. We'd always just be blaring them. My dad was a DJ, so he had a great sound system to do it. So when I saw him, my immediate reaction was like, oh my God, I need an autograph from my mom. And then it was like, how do I get a picture? Do I run in there right now? Do I just charge him and take the opportunity? What do I do? And I'm like, I'm going to smoke weed with him. Do I ask him to smoke a joint? Is it weird? Is that rude? And I was like, oh, should I say it? And I was just debating shouting. And I looked at other people. I'm like, should I shout? Come smoke a joint next door? Should I? And then the record store owner came and shouted. I'm like, fucking should have done that. Next time, I'm going to be on it next time.
If he smoked a joint with you, he would have probably done an interview with you, talked to you, and done the autograph. That's how it goes.
Get him
So
nice
that's
and stone relaxed. Share some of the hash.
And if he's cool, he's probably going to want to smoke a joint. You're going to laugh out of it. Or you can talk to him once you got his attention. Well, how about an interview? How about something like that?
Yeah.
That's how it's worked for me in the past, and it's worked pretty good in the past.
Next time, I promise you guys. Next
Marley.
time I will. I'll be on it.
I know you had other things on the mind yesterday and shit, but Jesus, girl, tighten it up.
It was an intense day. So I was actually going to say, you were talking about how they're, trying to take away our voice by making it difficult for us to have our media platform.
They even took away the Wi-Fi hubs.
So they took away we have store iPods that we use to post on social media and we use to play music in the lounge and the store, and they took those. And so we went, okay, to be precautionary, let's change passwords. Let's just be secure. And we pretty much thought that was preventative measures, but I just got a message from one of our store managers, and they noticed activity happening on accounts that I wasn't posting on and nobody else would have been posting on. And activity on Chris and Aaron Goodwin's social media accounts while they were in custody. So the police were fucking around with our social media. It's pretty fucked up.
You know what? This is gonna sound paranoid, but just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not after you. I was sitting in the office on Monday working on my laptop, and the green light on my webcam came on just out of nowhere. Right?
What day was this?
Monday.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah.
We're a little bit tentative. A lot of us are kind of curious in the building whether or not there's some eyes and ears that we're not aware of. But the thing is, we broadcast multiple live shows from here every week. We openly advertise what we do. We don't feel a need to hide what we're doing because everything we do should be legal, and we're doing it in everyone's faces because we want everyone who comes past this building, who comes in this building, who researches this building at all, to see that cannabis isn't harmful. And this is the model that Canada and other countries should be following when they look for legalization. You need safe places to consume. You need places where you can get from local mom and pop grows a variety of good quality cannabis at a variety of prices. We need all these things. We need it so anyone can get into the cannabis industry who wants to. You know, the same as any other industry that you can just try to be in it, and you can, and it isn't restrictive. But who knows what's happening next? It's a pretty fucking weird time. Pardon my language. I've sworn so much on pot TV this week because I'm just so frustrated.
The thing that I think attracts a lot of people to here and to work here is that everything's done with such integrity. Like taking iPads and iPods that we post on social media, you don't need to see that. Just go on the social media. Like if they're looking for confirmation that people smoke weed here, I can confirm it for you.
We smoke weed here. And if you want to come smoke weed here, we're open right now.
I don't even know if you deserve to smoke weed here.
Well,
no, they can't. Let them come in. Let them come in and see.
Crazy on the liquor or whatever it is after the media tax thing, then it's cool.
And what's cool though is when you come by, you smoke some weed, you'll find out that weed makes you feel like a flamingo. See, I kind of
trolls trolling. Oh my god. This is what happens when you smoke the devil's lettuce.
Oh my god, the devil's lettuce. I can't stop myself. As I smoke this joint, it's making me do this.
Trolls trolling.
Parker's like, actually, this is cool. Now I get the whole chair. Now I'm stuck like this.
That's funny.
Oh my god.
Parker, you can come here.
Take this joint so I can move. Oh, okay, see, I can move again. Oh, thank God.
Darn that devil's lettuce.
Devil's lettuce. Gets you every time. Sorry, Parker.
Trolls are silly, and cannabis isn't harmful if you actually do your research and don't just read reefer madness posters from the 1940s to get your information regarding cannabis. If you want some good, reliable information, you're welcome to go to cannabisculture.com, where we put lots of information out there, from everything from how safe it is to how to grow it. All the information you need is there. So if you're worried about whether or not you're going to turn into a flamingo from smoking the devil's lettuce, rest assured you're not, and we can show you with all the information we have available. Somebody kept saying devil's lettuce, da-da-da, and then he said, don't you guys realize that you'll turn into flamingos or something like that in the chat, which is ridiculous. Don't worry, anybody. You're not going to be a flamingo if you smoke weed.
But you know what you might find funny? Pranking somebody with a bunch of flamingos on their front lawn in the morning or something. If you got high, maybe you might call and order some flamingos to somebody's front yard.
They're like lawn flamingos.
Like those lawn flamingos with the sign, like Lordy, Jordy's 40, you know, that kind of shit.
Through a reputable source that I don't currently remember, there are actually more of those plastic, exactly.
That Caesar dressing you put on.
Plastic flamingos in the world than there are of actual flamingos.
Flamingos are cool.
Isn't that a sad fact?
Flamingo, it's funny because I was talking about how I've been to Florida and I realized not a lot of. I'm from Ottawa, so I've seen New York and Florida in the States, but I haven't seen like California or any of the West Coast, which is the opposite from most people I meet in my day-to-day life in Vancouver. And I was just thinking, I was like, I got to see flamingos in Florida, and that's really cool. Like, that's a really neat animal. They are super pink. They're cool.
When I went to Orange County,
I wouldn't even care. Whatever. If the weed turns me into a flamingo, like, fuck it. There's things I could turn into.
When I went to Orange County, there was actual oranges on the trees. And what's even more fucked up about the flamingos and the fake flamingos versus real flamingos, there are more tigers in a Chinese farm that farms tiger parts than there are in the wild in China.
There are more tigers in captivity in Texas as well. Privately
Oh,
held
that's
in captivity.
heartbreaking. Oh.
It makes me want to go to Texas, to tell you the truth. I want to see all these tigers.
Speaking of
You can
captivity,
see one, but I mean, you can't condone the activity.
Free the tigers.
Speaking of captivity,
Jailbreak.
the Cannabis Culture 5 have been released on $30,000 bail each.
Plus restrictions too.
Plus a lot of
Not allowed-
restrictions.
sorry.
Yeah.
No. Feel free.
From what I've read, not allowed to be in any cannabis location, a cannabis culture location, or any dispensary. Not allowed to be involved in the day-to-day operations of the business. A lot of really restrictive
Mark
things.
and Jody?
Both Mark and Jody are not allowed to be involved in the running of their very own business. It's private business, but small business owners in Canada that employ dozens, if not hundreds, of people in their network. They're being just not allowed. You're not allowed to go to your work.
Somebody's getting a promotion.
You entrepreneur.
It's unbelievable. I was trying to pull up an article here. There's a really good one on, where is this here? bc.ctvnews.ca. And it's entitled Mark and Jody Out on Bail After Pot Shop Raids. And if you have a chance and you're wondering, this, before I did the show, seemed to be the most current article that I could find with really good information. So if people are curious about some of the updates, it's a really full article. And there's some great quotes from Kirk Tusa in there, including one. He said that they were both in decent spirits while in jail, as decent as you can be when you're locked in a cage and your liberty has been restricted and deprived for no good reason.
Yeah, there's that.
Solid.
Mhm.
Yeah. Where's the other one? Just because the law is on the books doesn't mean that the police have to enforce it, and it doesn't mean the Crown has to prosecute. Now, here's something I wanted to talk about. When the Toronto police called up Vancouver Police Department and they said, hey, we've got this warrant, go fuck with this Vancouver place.
Operation Gator, you mean?
Operation Gator.
Operation Get Her? You mean?
Operation. Oh, so fucked
Get her.
up.
We can't call it Get Her, so Get Her. Gator it is.
It's fucked up.
We were thinking maybe there's a guy in the office with the nickname Gator.
No, they told us in Toronto when we were about Claudia, they said there's a computer that auto-generate names and stuff like that because they used somebody's name one time and then they sued the city. I was like, you can't use my name for something associated with that.
Like a famous person or something? Operation Iggy Pop? That'd be cool.
Something like that, or it ended up being some Operation Nike or something stupid like that. And some dumb shit they fucked up on.
Operation Just Do It.
So now it's just some they told us it was some general, but to me it sounds like Operation Get Her. Let's call it Project Get Her. Fuck that, Jody Emery.
Here's another good quote from
She's
Kirk.
the devil.
Good human beings are being literally locked in cages for cannabis. This is the latest salvo in Canada's senseless war on cannabis, and cannabis consumers is a moral outrage and has no place in a free and democratic society. Canada is the only place that announced legalization that didn't put decriminalization in place immediately after. We're the only place that announced legalization that didn't stop wasting taxpayer money by continuing to put people in cages for selling a plant that you're about to legalize, and you're about to legalize it because you see
They're
it
about to
is
monopolize.
not harmless.
Exactly.
They're about to monopolize.
That's why it can't be illegal. That's why it can't be decrimmed yet, because they don't have the system dialed in, so they can control all the money
The
yet.
power to act extrajudiciously.
Yeah,
Pardon
they
my
want
language.
all the money. They want
Yeah.
all the money.
They want to arrest people and make them pay lawyers, make them everything else, and seize up the works in the business without ever having to follow.
And they
through
don't
the
care
charge.
if it helps, and they don't care if it's good weed. They go, well, we get as many people to buy it as we can. And they buy it and they take it and then they take their money and run. They don't know the difference, and unfortunately, a lot of people who are out there will have no choice but to buy it. But it won't fix the black market situation. I'll tell you that much.
You know what pisses me off is that it hasn't been that long we've been doing our dispensaries. It hasn't been that long they've been in
Almost a year.
Toronto.
Yeah.
They've already done some raids.
Yeah.
So this is a new project that they started. So it hasn't even been that long. And then they came and they slammed down so hard. And I can't help but think about things like, When you hear about large amounts of fentanyl overdoses, and then you hear about the raid, and then you hear about how there was a hospital that had a bunch of fentanyl go missing. It's like, well, where's the raid on this hospital? Like, how is it that you hear about these fentanyl overdoses are still happening? You crack down this fast on cannabis, and the opioid crisis is still a problem. If you have that manpower.
147 overdoses last week in Vancouver alone.
So how quick are you going to put those people pressure? How quick are you going to put those people in prison? How quick are you going to raid where they are? When is that going to happen? Because you did it pretty damn quick with us. So if cannabis is this scary, how scared are you for the safety of people with the opioids? How much faster are you going to be doing it?
But they have a DIN number on them, so they can't be bad for you.
Multiple cops got emotional when we were speaking to them because they couldn't say it, but they agreed that their time was being wasted here. And so every time we brought up the fact that they were here, stopping us from being in our lounge, allowing a place for people to safely consume cannabis, where there's lots of people who come here to safely consume cannabis, whereas they used to go on the street and consume opioids. That is a common thing here, and we see it all the time, and we welcome them with open arms because that's okay. That's okay that they're here because they're using a safer alternative, and we want to help them make that transition. And it's just absolutely heartbreaking. And then when we brought the point up to the cops that they sign up for the job so that they could help people like that, so that they could go and figure out who's causing that problem, so that they could fix the drug problem. And instead they're fueling the back end of the drug war that just puts money into the government's pockets.
Every injustice ever was someone just doing their job, right? And you could be helping, or somebody's ODing 2 blocks away, but you're here with the signs behind on the show last night because we didn't have
Last I read the card, it said the job is to serve and protect, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, they were serving at the will of Toronto police and protecting the interests of the financially invested. So they're doing their jobs.
I'd feel protected if I didn't feel like I have to worry about fentanyl being on the Vancouver street. And the thing is, it's not just like worried about, I'm not the kind of person who is using street drugs. And I think that anyone who does,
I have been before.
but I love mushrooms. I like natural stuff. But I think that anyone who is using street drugs right now should be extremely careful, especially in BC, especially in Ontario. It's a really scary time.
You know why they don't care? Because it's just the street people, and they don't.
But it's not.
Matter.
It's not. You know what?
Of course it hasn't been.
All.
But you watch as soon as some high-profile celebrity or some high executive bigwig that goes over a high-profile fentanyl overdose. That's what it's going to take for BC government.
I'm from Ottawa, and everyone in Ottawa and the surrounding area is absolutely heartbroken because a 14-year-old girl just overdosed from fentanyl. She took a pressed pill for the first time. It was her first time trying drugs, and it was speed and fentanyl when she thought it was going to be an ecstasy tablet, and she died. And it is heartbreaking because she was a beautiful, ambitious, smart young girl, and you crack down this hard on us, then you have that manpower in Ontario throughout the country. Well, then I expect that person who put fentanyl in her pill to be behind bars faster than you got Jody Emery behind bars for allowing people access to a safe plant.
What kind of drug dealer wants to kill their customers?
The kind that does it.
We're talking about dirty drugs right now.
These are dirty drugs, yeah.
And dirty drugs are something that exist in a black market. Things get cut with so many things that they think, I can put a little bit extra in, and I'll still be able to save the money, and I'm sure they'll survive. Like they've been doing it a while. I'm sure they'll survive.
One little somebody fucked up one time.
The dirty drug system that's being pushed forward in the cannabis world, though, is the licensed producer. How many mold stories? How many we aren't testing our product stories have been out in the public?
Well, yeah, look at Freddie Pritchard's been killing it for the last 2 years, jumping up and down, talking about all that sort of stuff. And of course, in the last 2 months, he was one more time vindicated again. The One Man Smoke Show with all this stuff. He did the testing 2 years before it broke in the news. Yep. And I mean, shouts to the king for keeping it together. Unfortunately, he's probably gonna be right on a few more things.
Yep. I love Freddie, but I hope he's not right on everything. Because
I hope not. Yeah. Well,
let's fight against it to stop it from happening.
Yeah,
how about that?
No one ever bats 1,000. But unfortunately, man, that man has been on it. And all I gotta say is right now is yub yub. Yub yub. We doing it. We here. We holding it down.
So I was going to talk a little bit about how they were released. We're not really sure what's going on now. I haven't had any
We've been here.
from-
We've been out of the loop for the last hour and a half.
Yeah.
Basically 2 hours doing this shit.
But what I've heard is that they were released. They were doing okay. That they're in good spirits. But of course, it's a traumatic experience. It's been a traumatic experience for everyone. It's really hard. This place is really a special place. It's a really special place. It is a second home to so many of us. You know, we're open every single day of the year because there's numerous staff members that come here for Christmas Day because this is a family. Everyone knows this is a family here. It's to have somebody come in and violate us this way. It's just really disappointing, especially in Vancouver.
Karaoke night. How bad can what's happening in here really be when there's a karaoke night?
Gone to yoga.
I mean,
yoga,
jam night.
So my question is, Jody and Mark, you guys still gonna go to Cannabis? Are you gonna come back here? Are you gonna hang in Toronto? Where's the press conference?
So
gonna be?
they insisted. They took their travel documentation and passports. So they will not be going to Cannabis. Sorry,
They can
Spain.
get back here. Yeah.
Really disappointing. I feel really bad for them. Obviously, they were worried about them leaving the country, even though they were just going to spread their word, which is, of course, why we're being targeted. There's lots of dispensaries, and we're not the only dispensary in Canada to have this many locations open and to be doing this much business. But because we're doing it, and we're saying this is why we're doing it, and this is what needs to happen, that's why they went, gotta shut them up real quick. And it's fucked up. It's completely political. They're not worried about we're not the criminals and the black market and the gangs that Justin Trudeau is hinting towards when he says that we need to legalize cannabis. You know, we're not the ones hurting kids that Justin Trudeau is talking about when he's. So why is it that he's not arresting gang members so publicly? He's arresting the activists, the political activists.
Well, yeah, look at yesterday.
Then why are you really legalizing?
Look at yesterday. They didn't arrest anybody in any of the stores. They didn't fuck with any of the staff. They obviously took some, products and stuff that they found. Didn't go raid any of the stores here. Obviously, everything was just an information gathering session so that they could have more evidence for in their case. It's all yesterday was.
And a cash grab. They took $250,000. I read that in the CTV story this morning that they reported $250,000 in cash from all the.
Well, they broke multiple safes. They left us with basically the most bare minimum till that they possibly float that they could in the store, which is weird. They took most of it, but not all of it, so we had just enough to do our sales. So it was like, well, we're gonna kick you really hard in the balls, but we'll let you get up. We'll let you get up. It's okay.
Sorry,
it's just
we're
really
doing our
fucked
job.
up. It's really fucked up. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's.
I want the Pot TV computer back. It has nothing to do with the investigation. There's no information on there. Release the Pot TV computer. Carly and I got interviews and all sorts of videos and
free
shit
the
on
Pot
there.
TV computer.
Right? Yeah. Free the Pot TV desktop, man. We need that fucker back, man. It has nothing to do with your investigation.
It took about 3 minutes before I saw people start posting on live streams. Free buds, free tippy. So that was pretty good.
Yeah, thanks for everybody who supported and watching shit. Thanks for everybody who's tuning in to watch the better-looking Jeremiah Vandermeer and the less good-looking John Burfello here. I still got a medtainer, though, so it's kind of the same. And a jar full of weed.
Medtainer today. But I got lots of dabs.
There you go. So you're sitting up a little upright, though, still. You should be slouching a little bit more by now. Yeah.
I don't have a laptop.
The mic should be down here. So,
no, we can't make fun of him now because he's watching.
Oh, fuck it.
I'm just kidding.
So I'm going to make fun of him even more is what I'm going to do.
I'm going to dab even more.
Fuck that guy. No, man, we continuing. We've got things in the works. Obviously, like me being the independent that I am, I can operate autonomously from here at any time, and I often do when I'm out on the road and shit. So luckily, I got enough to make it happen. So I was happy to once again come down, and help out for today. But we do have plans in the works to make sure that at least Pot TV gets back where it needs to be, because Pot TV is innocent and the story needs to be told. So as quickly as we can, we'll have new broadcast gear in here by early next week if all things go according to plan, and we should have the Pot TV looking better than ever. We're going to make sure we put decals and computers over it. This is Pot TV media property, contains no financial or anything, contains only desktop files and logos, and it's not going to help, but fuck those guys. I mean, that's not cool, man. I got nothing to do with nothing.
No, they even pulled apart furniture. Like I came in and the couches were all like moved around and the couches were torn off. All of the people in the store were so concerned. We said it yesterday in the store. We're so concerned about the glass because, you know, there's some people who've been through raids here before and they said, you know, in the old days, they would have just smashed everything.
They've been smashing
so,
heads, man.
you know, we were really concerned because there's some really special glass at our store.
Did y'all see the smashed computer towers in the broom closet? They ripped the hard drives out of 2 computer towers and just left.
Oh man, okay. You know what's funny though is that we've been trying to get rid of those computers for forever. And you were talking today, we're like, oh, we hope they took them. We won't have to get rid of them now. They'll save us the trip. But they only took the information part, so that's kind of lame. We'll still have to get rid of them now.
We had 3 shitty laptops and one that was just a tower that wasn't even connected to anything, wasn't even working. There's not even all the cards in it and shit like that.
They took so much useless stuff, and I hope you guys have the worst time going through all the pointless information.
And terabytes of fucking videos to watch. You got years worth of fucking.
You know what's great though is that they're because they took
budget though, isn't it?
They took the Pod TV thing, which means they probably will go through all the videos, which means they're going to get really educated on the pot movement. My hope is that they'll be like halfway through and then they'll go, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I'm on the wrong side. And then somebody else will start doing it and then they'll go, wow, I was wrong all along. And then we'll just fuck with them that way.
Also, they might be able to pose in front of your backdrop at press conferences. They got the 420 lifestyle. They can print it now. They probably got your,
there you go.
They got your logo file
there
as well.
You go.
Too. Right like that. Yeah, man, that's some bullshit. But part of it, that's what you do. That's why they create backups. And the show goes on. Plus, they also create a place called Best Buy.
And the show does go on. We're still here. All of our Vancouver locations are open and operational. We're fully operational here. I believe 3 of the Toronto locations are open. Ottawa is open. So if you want to stop by, it's a really great time to, because we would really appreciate your support. So
you could use the support right now. Show the community that, like, when we come back, you appreciate that comeback because we shouldn't have been forced out in the first place. Go support all the CC shops, man. I mean, it's my pleasure to come down and help any way I can. You guys need to go out and do anything you can. Go to the stores, go to the lounges, go to the head shops, go to the 420.com, 420vancouver.com website or .ca website and volunteer to help at 420. Come be part of the movement. Go learn, get educated. Follow on social, Instagram, Twitter, all that. Just keep supporting and spreading the news. I mean, this is whack. And of course, Jody and Mark Emery, Chris Aaron Goodwin, and Brittany Gare as well too.
Yeah, that's all good stuff to do. Definitely. I would say for me, it's just read books and question authority.
And when you read those books and you find information, and when you're reading cannabis culture articles, I mean, you're learning through conversation with people who you know are reliable sources of information. Share that information. Education is key. You know, yesterday there was so many people confused, being like, well, why are you bothering the cops? They're just doing their jobs. We've already ranted about the fact that, you know, that's, you know, the same excuse that the Nazis use, the same excuse people used when persecuting gays and Aboriginal people, and that they still use all the time. And that's not a good enough excuse. And the thing is, anytime you're confronted with a cop, I mean, it's obviously it depends on where you are. I'm not saying go and get yourself arrested, but me as a person, if I'm smoking a joint, if I'm doing anything cannabis related, and I deal with a cop, I take that opportunity to try to get them to see my side. And that is why we had a couple officers get emotional, because they realized how pointless what they were doing there was, and they realized that the drug war that they were enforcing was wrong. So you can change people's minds, you know. It's hard to. You won't change a lot of people's minds, but every once in a while you can plant that seed that will make people see things the way that they should see them, and they will make them realize that cannabis is not harmful, and the only thing that's harmful about cannabis is the drug war, and is people who are getting put in prison for cannabis. That's the harm that's happening. The kids that are being harmed by cannabis is because their parents are being locked up in prison. That's how kids are being harmed by cannabis. The only way the kids are being harmed by cannabis.
And the police are being militarized.
And you know something else that I was thinking about is that I met someone who has a cannabis allergy, and it's a serious allergy. It's an anaphylactic allergy. And she's the only person I've met who has this. But what's fucked up about that is because it's illegal, there's no allergy test for it. So again, how is that protecting people?
Yeah.
How is it protecting people? Because of the stigma that's around it, because it's illegal, she can't go and get it tested, so she can't get the proper prescription medication she needs to ensure that if she's in a situation where she needs it. Yeah, it's a really fucked up situation. You can get tested. I know somebody who's been tested and they found they were legal to alcohol, but apparently, yep. Hey, it's Mr. Mama Levine.
Hey, David, you want to come take my seat? I got to roll, buddy.
That's perfect. Great. Thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
man.
Thank you for your great pictures and your amazing article as well.
Malmino, the paperwork master himself.
Well, I thought someone should go and try to talk to this justice minister again.
Never hurts.
Third generation activist herself. Her grandmother was an activist. Her father debated with Pierre Elliott Trudeau during the Constitution. And yeah, she has a long history of activism. Maybe she'll listen to another activist. Certainly don't want to talk to Anne McClellan about it because she's, well, working for the LPs.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to Bill Blair about it because he's a cop.
Yeah.
But she's kind of in charge.
Both have their own agendas.
Yeah,
completely.
She's kind of in charge of justice, and she knows what it's like to be under the thumb of the man. Maybe she'll listen. I don't know. She didn't want to meet me before when they were figuring out the task force, and right after they got elected, they avoided meeting with me. Maybe they'll be more open to meeting with me now. It's pressure. It's putting pressure on them, letting them know we're here.
So can you take a second before we get into anything else to explain the importance of when you're an activist or when you want to make changes in the government, how you can go and talk to your local representatives and how you can do that and why you should do that?
Yeah, well, you shouldn't limit yourself to just doing that. There's a lot of other things you can do to put pressure on the government,
absolutely,
aside from meeting them. But we should do everything, every peaceful, creative, non-destructive path to putting pressure on these guys and knocking on their doors and saying, hey, this is wrong, this is stupid, this is bad, we got to meet about this.
So if somebody wants to,
everyone should do.
If somebody wants to change the cannabis, laws or regulations in their area and they want to talk to a local representative, what do you think their first step should be?
You'll call them up and ask for an appointment to meet with them in person.
With their MP or...
Yeah, if they won't do that, then you write a sternly worded letter saying, look, it's just an effing flower. There are 0 deaths. It has lighter withdrawal symptoms than coffee. There are no marijuana overdoses on record, no lethal ones anyway. Lots of where people are too high, but
you could send them a link to
overexposure, not overdose.
You can send them a link to Does Cannabis Inherently Harm the Developing
Minds of Young People? Please read that, familiarize yourself with it. The psychosis rates haven't increased, IQs are not dipping, but marijuana use rates have gone straight through the roof, and you don't see a similar increase in problems of any kind. The biggest problems that come with cannabis are the police and punishments in general by people who don't understand cannabis. Cannabis causes hysteria in people who have never tried it. That's, I think, a famous quote from somebody.
You know what the thing is, though?
We already demonstrated the flamingo effect earlier.
Well, the thing is, though, weed can be a little bit scary if you don't use it properly and you're not familiar with it.
Sure.
And, I had somebody, I said, how many people have been in this lounge and learned how to safely take a dab? And somebody's like, what do you mean safely take a dab? How are you supposed to? You know what? If you take a really big dab way too big, or if you take a dab way too hot, it does hurt. And you know what? It is an uncomfortable experience when you get way too high, especially when it's a dab way too high. That can be really crappy. It fucks with your visuals. It fucks with your hearing. It's not fun. And the thing is, I didn't like weed the first time I smoked it because I smoked too much, and everyone who was smoking it, they were busy smoking their own joint, and I was copying them, and I was puffing as hard as I could, and then they kind of looked at me and they're like, no, you need to ease up. But they were, in their own zone and weren't paying attention. When you have places like this, you can go, okay, this is a good starting amount. This is how long you should wait before you can take another bite of your edible. This is how big your dab should be and what temperature you should take it at and what you should expect.
Pot smoking school for the kids.
Right.
Crash course. We had handed out that 420 guide at the last rally. We'll probably hand out our leftover copies at the next rally. But yeah, we try to offer kind of the basics in how to use this stuff properly. Now, if you took caffeine out of coffee beans and you put it in a powder like they do, you can buy pure caffeine powder. And it's a little white powder just like cocaine. That stuff can kill you from an overdose. You can die of that stuff. Cannabis, if you take too much, you'll feel like you're going to die, but you're not going to die. Nobody ever died.
What frustrates me, and I love the coffee bean model, and some people go, I don't know, that's a bit of a stretch. I love the coffee bean model because coffee affects me extremely negatively. Sure. I could not drive safely after consuming caffeine. I am extremely anxious, irritable, I'm withdrawn, I'm in my own, all those like scary symptoms that they make you think pot does. It does it to me. I'm literally like this after I have a couple sips of coffee. And it's because I didn't know how to use it properly and I overconsumed. And there's not proper drug awareness around society's acceptable drugs, which is unfortunate. But to me, I think that's a great model because if we're not worried about people drinking coffee and driving, when for sure it impairs people's driving, when you're jittery from having to force yourself to drink 2 cups of coffee in the morning so you're awake enough to go to your job at 7 a.m. and your hands are like this, that impairs your driving.
You don't think that's
it should be seen the same way. It should be seen the same way. If there's 8 Starbucks allowed on the block, there should be 8 cannabis cultures allowed on the block. That's just the way it should be because it's less harmful than coffee. And it has similar effects. First-time users, it'll probably be a little bit stronger, but that's the same thing with coffee. And anyone who's ever smoked a cigarette, your first cigarette, do you remember that? How that felt like?
Your first
you felt like you were going to fall over because you were so lightheaded. So can you imagine doing that and then being in a car and driving? Well, yeah, if it's your first time consuming a product, you're unfamiliar with it, it's going to be an intense experience. But when you're familiar with it, then it's second nature. I would be too anxious to drive without smoking weed because I'm an anxious person actually, and it's not. That's another impairment is if you're distracted. So
yeah. I think that everything can really be an impairment or a distraction. I mean, just having other shit on your mind is can be distracted driving if you want to get into it. It's very subjective, and I think they pick and choose, obviously, and cannabis is one of the ones they choose.
Lack of sleep, prescription drugs, emotional disturbance, old age. All of these things can impair you while you're driving a car. But we should put cannabis in the everything else category rather than the alcohol category because cannabis, its impairment levels are dependent upon familiarity and dose in a much different way than alcohol, which is very dose specific.
So we were talking earlier, Malmo, and it's a point you've brought up before, but I'd love for you to touch on it. And you're talking about how when you're smoking to consume a substance, you have much better control about dosage.
That's right. Smoked medicine, you wait 2 to 5 minutes at most to feel the effects. If you're not high enough, you take another puff. With orally ingested medicine, it can take 40 minutes or longer to take effect, and it's much more harder to control. You don't know whether you've had too much, not enough, and by the time you found out you haven't had enough, it's 40 minutes have passed. So smoked medicine have advantages. And one of the things I think doctors fear is that their role in helping people dose themselves properly with medicine will be taken over by opium and cannabis and other. There's a long list of botanical medicines you can smoke.
It's another interesting thing that just kind of came to mind for me too with the smoking aspect is that when you compare, let's say, smoking a joint to eating an edible, you smoke a joint, on average, depends how good the weed is and how much you smoke, what your tolerance is. Usually the feeling lasts about half an hour to an hour or so. You eat an edible, it usually takes about that long to kick in alone, right. And then you're either going to bed in a few hours or you're high all day. Right. So when I think about somebody taking a prescription pill, I imagine it's easy to overconsume, and when it's already in your system because you've consumed it orally, there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, when they tell
you just got to wait it out, and it's a long wait.
Yeah, when they tell you don't do anything, don't drive a vehicle, don't operate this until you know how this drug affects you. Alcohol affects everybody a little different the first time they try it than once they get used to it. Cigarettes, cannabis, of course, too. Coffee, we've talked about. Sex, your first time having sex, probably maybe not the memorable time that you've hopefully worked yourself up to with a little bit of practice and experience. I mean, everything conditioning, right?
You can be allergic or hypersensitive to anything. That's why people who experiment with drugs for the first time recommend taking a tenth of what you expect might get you high and build up. That way, if you happen to be allergic to pot, you're not having an allergic reaction and super high at the same time.
I also think it's really good a way to work in whole plant medicines. We see people with just the CBD tinctures and stuff. It's nice when you see a little bit of a mixture and you get a little bit of the whole or plant if you can, and a couple little drops of THC, and people just gradually work up to it and be able to handle a little bit more. And suddenly you're not hallucinating. Suddenly you're not pinking on one leg, and you're just going about your business like it's okay, able to operate machinery and not put anybody in harm's way.
Yeah, there's something called titration, which is listening to the little voice inside you that tells you when you're high enough. And with just by a little focus, a little attention on that voice, you can dose yourself properly. Doctors want to pretend self-titration doesn't exist because that guarantees them a role in cannabis medicine. But real people who are familiar with cannabis understand self-titration is a real thing.
Another term that you've used before that I'd like for you to kind of explain and discuss is, now I just lost it. What is it? Autonomy.
Oh, yeah. Human medical autonomy. Autonomy just means self-control. You have control of your own life. You read often in legal documents the phrase own life, like I'm so high. It is your life.
Join earlier.
It's yours to determine what happens to. You're not like some domesticated animal, some pet, some livestock. You are the king or queen of your own destiny, and you choose what goes inside your body in terms of diet, and you should be able to choose what goes inside your body in terms of medicine.
And you can from Organogram, from Metrum, from fucking all the cronies.
Yeah,
but anyway.
There's a really good quote from Mark Twain about autonomy. He says, if I choose wrong, does the state die? No, I die. Right? So I take the consequences of my actions. I suffer the consequences of my actions. The state doesn't. So the state has no business making those decisions for me. And it's the same with sexual autonomy, political autonomy, every branch of your life. We right now have dietary autonomy. Even in jail, you have a little bit of diet. So you can choose between vegetarian, vegan, and regular. Right? Or sometimes you get a religious diet. You have nutritional autonomy. And the reason you have nutritional autonomy is everyone's different, and everyone is the best judge of what foods react best with them, because a lot of it's just sensation and feeling. Oh, I don't feel so good. I don't want to eat that anymore. For the same reason we have nutritional autonomy, we should have all the other kinds of autonomy out there, because it's our lives and we suffer the consequences of judging wrong. If the state judges wrong and guesses wrong as to what you should put in your body, it doesn't suffer at all. You do all the suffering. So if you do the suffering, you should do the deciding.
Hell, Henry Ford, it was, you can have any color you want as long as it's black.
Yeah.
That worked. He sold a lot of cars for a while.
That starts in a beginning market when you're the only guy supplying cars, right? But
you can have any weed you want as long as it's green.
As soon as there's competition, then you get selection and variety and choice, and you get to
better products
and quality because of the competition.
Goes up because people want quality.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When I moved out to BC, and I was like, "Is it the climate? Because this weed is amazing. I knew it was amazing, but how is this weed so amazing?" And I realized a lot of it, most of it, is grown indoor. So it isn't necessarily to do with the climate. I've talked to some growers who think maybe something in the water, but it's the competition more than anything. Because when one grower goes, "Look at this bed," then the other grower goes, "Oh shit, I need to step my game up," and they work harder and they read more, and then they grow better, and then they go back to their buddy and they go, "Yeah, look at the bud I grew," and then their buddy goes, "Oh shit, that was so much better than the stuff I showed him. Now I've got to make my next grow even better," and they read more, and it creates this healthy competition that's created this thriving market that they're trying to crush right now, and it's just not gonna fucking work.
Yeah, it's great when you've got the point where you're like,
sorry for swearing again.
Marley, calm
Quit the
down.
fucking swearing. Right? Be fucking
For fuck's sakes,
professional.
man.
For fuck's sakes.
When you've got the opportunity to, buy really good weed for reasonably affordable prices here, if you're going to go through the effort of growing, to not grow as good weed as you can go out and buy, you should always be trying to grow better weed that you can get, because otherwise what's the fucking point of growing weed, right? So
on the subject of the culture of competition in British Columbia and the healthy competition we've experienced for decades, I think that two major factors as to why there's so much is the Vietnam War. All the draft dodgers came up from the West Coast and they looked to BC as a place where they can move to, and then they found that pot was a great industry to get into.
bunch of hippies.
And then the other thing is the hydroelectric power makes growing cheaper indoors in BC because power is cheaper compared to other places. So BC had all the best sort of elements, all the ingredients necessary to create this culture of growers, this grower culture, this competition between growers. And that's why we have a bit of an advantage over other areas, other parts of the world.
We lead the world, man. Amsterdam, BC, Bud, it's famous. We're one of the most important places in the world, and what does here happens trickles down.
And I let the cops know that. I was like, you realize you're in Vancouver and how many people come here for weed tourism? Said, you realize this is usually their first stop when they do that?
Yeah.
You have any idea how many hundreds of people come here?
That goes into the tax money, which goes into the cops' budgets. They're really shooting themselves in their own foot.
It's humbling the amount of people have come and they went, oh my God, I've seen you on Pot TV. And I came to Vancouver because I wanted to see the Pot TV studio, and I wanted to smoke weed at Cannabis Culture, and I wanted to buy weed from your dispensary, and I wanted to meet the community members. And that is, I've lost track of how many times that's happened. I've only been working here for a short while. So,
You mentioned to me that the cops were almost in tears from being asked over and over again.
The female cop did cry, and she had to leave because she was very emotional. And then I was hitting one of the male cops pretty hard, and by hitting I mean verbally expressing myself, not assaulting an officer.
Foam pool noodle.
Asking them to look at themselves in the mirror and saying, what have you become? What kind of monster are you now? Going after the harmless people who have an intelligent preference, and you're beating them up and taking their shit.
And if you're curious what I'm referring to, it's in the live stream, and I'm holding the iPad up, and it's after I've talked to some of the cops, the one who had his hand on the gun the whole time and was trying to be really tough. And then, it's
you
pretty
thought
pathetic.
we were going to jump him?
And he just going, I'm just relaxing. But it's like all day. His hand was like on his gun. And we're like, it's not a friendly gesture. It's making us uncomfortable.
Your insecurity is making us insecure too. It's
Get your tailor to lower your belt a little bit or something so your arm doesn't feel in that weird spot or whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
Or get something non-lethal to rest on.
Yeah, right.
But you can see on a lot of the cops' faces, some of them were just kind of like being that, tough conditioned sheep they are.
That's the first thing you learn in cop school. Okay. Let's see your fuck
if you smile, you'll be
$20 face.
But there were a couple of the cops that were actually human beings, and you could see that they were not happy about having to do what they were doing. And that's what I meant, because that one cop was just kind of having this conversation. He's just going about his job, and I took the time to go, why are you really doing this? Why are you really here? Do you really want to be here? And and the same with the female cop who was questioned, and the same with every other cop who had to deal with us. They have to take a second and think about it. So, as I said, educate. It's key. Whether it's, people, even if I've had times when I'm in a cab and I'll get a cab driver and they talk about how they can smell weed half the time. They're like, cool, where'd you get it? Do you have a sample? The other half, sometimes they have something to say, and I take that opportunity and go, no, what you've been taught is wrong. This is what the truth is, and you should always do that, whether it's a cop or your mom.
Well, that's what I found. I found every objection that anyone ever has to me, and they pose their argument, I say, okay. And then I answer that with a fact or something, and eventually they start running out of the amount of questions they have, and then you get to the point where like, well, I can't outsmart this guy, I can't outtalk this guy, I can't outcalm this guy. I was at the doctor the other day, getting this jaw shit dealt with, and she said, you got headaches, you got pain and stuff like that. I said, yeah, I use cannabis to treat. And she's like, well, what kind? How? I said, well, I vape it, I smoke it, I use it topically, I take capsules, I drink it, I take about 6-7 different.
That's a funny question when you ask someone who's chronic.
Yeah, right. And she's like, oh, have you ever thought about maybe like trying less and trying like a Advil or something. And I said to her, I said, lady, I said, I'm going to go ahead and respectfully just stop you right there. I don't need cannabis medical advice from you. Chances are I know more about it than anyone in this office, in this building, or in this neighborhood. It's kind of what I do for a living. So you go on ahead and just adjust the damn mouthpiece and let's not talk about cannabis again, or you're not going to like how it goes. And she just...
Yeah, well,
it's just a suggestion.
Yeah, she's coming from a place of ignorance. People think that because a pharmacist handed to you, it must be safer than coming out of a garden. But the fact is, Advils have overdose deaths to their name. Cannabis doesn't. And the money that goes to pharmaceutical companies usually goes towards their side projects, which is starting wars and making money off those wars. I actually wrote a history of Bayer and Exxon. And it's called The Marriage of Bayer and Exxon. It's Potshot number 19. You can go to potshot.ca and read it for free. And it just goes to show you that the pharmaceutical companies are the worst companies in the world. They started World War II. They started the oil wars. They make money off these wars. Big banks and chemical companies want to outlaw the naturals to monopolize the synthetic. Mm-hmm. And that's basically the game that they're in. And Bayer is like the worst of the worst. And it has a virtual monopoly on pharmaceutical cannabis with their Sativex product that they market and distribute all over the world. Well,
because when it's something that's natural, then you don't have to buy it from them. You know, it's like I think about the glasses conspiracy. I found a website that was really cheap to get my glasses a few years back. And I love it because they cost me like $10 a pair for my prescription glasses. And prior to that, I paid $300, $400, $800 for glasses. The same with a lot of people. And then it was, not that long ago, I found out that the guys who own Lens Crafters, Hakeem Optical, all of the major, glasses providers. Same dudes. And the thing is, they went, wow, if we own this market, we can really hike it up because people need to see to live. Yeah. So, and then Oakley comes out and they're like, well, we're going to combat that by making really, really affordable glasses. And they went, nope. And they made their stock prices drop and they bought them out really cheap. And then they hiked up the price of the glasses that Oakley was providing too.
What do you think they're trying to do?
So they're trying to do the same thing with weed.
Same thing with weed. They've done the same thing with the transportation industry, the car companies and the tire companies and the gas companies.
Make way different products.
They bought up all the trolleys and they burnt them on big bonfires, sent them into the ocean. The same thing with the energy economy, the fuel economy. They had hemp outlawed so they wouldn't have to compete with it, and then they had a monopoly on car fuels. So monopoly is more than just a board game. It's the way capitalism functions. It's the way most of the economy functions. And the cannabis economy has been mostly non-monopoly for most of its history. It's not a big investment to become a grower. It's not a big investment to become a dealer, and it allows for poor people to make a living. And we want to maintain that post-legalization. We don't want that to change.
Well, they want to maintain the poor people, too. Don't forget. They need the poor people.
Oh, fuck that. I think I became a pot activist to combat poverty. One of the reasons. Also for that climate destabilization.
Let's bring back the middle class
plus
in Canada.
Plus weed is tasty as fuck. Let's just not fucking get around that. There is some level of, you know what? It's good. I enjoy it.
Yeah,
especially this orange Tangie from Cannabis Culture Beauty.
Check them out, 512 B Street.
You live longer
$2 over
if you smoke pot than if you don't do any drugs whatsoever.
And you'll look better and you'll feel better.
Less stress, fewer wrinkles. So it actually adds years to your life, and you shouldn't let anyone tell you that it's bad for you. It's only bad for you if you're smoking swag through an aluminum can pipe, or if it's bad for you when the cop steals your weed and then throws you in a gladiator school.
The only thing bad about weed is not having enough of it.
There, I guess.
Maybe Kenny's Kimmy Kush, but we did have another dude ask us yesterday, what the hell is wrong with you? You heard him in the voice. We got more people who got news on comment.
So, Mama, we did a little protest, and we touched on it briefly. But can you just, before you go, explain kind of what happened today?
Are you going to show the video?
Do we have the video, Alyssa? available?
It's on the Facebook.
It is on the Facebook. Okay, so how about while Alyssa's loading up the video?
There's
how
this
about
video.
You can tell us where you can
to-
find more of your information and research you're referring to.
Sure. We went to 1245 West Broadway to Jody Wilson-Raybould's office. She's the Justice Minister of Canada, the federal top lawyer in Canada, and it's really under her watch that this legalization is being rolled out. She, at any point in time, could intercede and make it much better for us if she wanted to. She avoided my attempts at having a meeting in the past, but because of the raids, I thought we should all go down and start protesting there, and I tried to set up an appointment to see her, and that's what the video is all about, is my attempts to get an appointment to see our Justice Minister. But yeah, it's a pretty entertaining video, and I explained to her lackeys.
Video is all about is my attempts to get an appointment to see our Justice Minister.
Technical
But yeah, it's a pretty.
difficulties. We're just
I appreciate
gonna.
the feedback.
So yeah,
That's okay.
where there's.
But we're experiencing some technical difficulties, folks. Please stand by.
We're getting the video set up. But Malmo, you've got a plethora of information that you've made available to people with the ample research that you've done with really reputable sources.
Yeah.
Can you tell the people who are watching about where you think they should go to get some of the information that you share?
Sure. Well, I think the most important thing to learn is that cannabis doesn't make kids stupid and crazy, because that's how they're justifying all the oppression and the raids and everything they're doing bad to us. They say cannabis makes kids stupid or crazy. Cannabis harms the developing minds of young people. So everyone out there who wants to make a difference should, for sure, if you haven't already, familiarize yourself with this information. And the most comprehensive collection of it is found in an article called "Does Cannabis Inherently Harm the Developing Minds of Young People?" And it's online at cannabisculture.com and at stressedanddepressed.ca. And I also put it in book form, and you can come down to the CCHQ and buy yourself a copy for not too much money.
Yeah, you can also buy hard copies online, or book copies online at cannabisculturehq.com, and they're very affordable. So.
And at the Stressed and Depressed Association dispensary at 1353 East 41st. That's 41st and Ninth Street. And then so learn about this, and then you're more able to handle most of people's concerns. The other concerns is over driving, but I'm about to publish an article on cannabisculture.com that goes into the facts surrounding cannabis and impaired driving. It's going to blow people away. I've been told I have to keep quiet about what I've learned because they haven't got the wording perfect, the researchers, but once they get the wording perfect, something that they're comfortable with, they're going to share the information with me. And that's the other major fear of people, is that cannabis legalization will result in vehicular mayhem. What it will really do is what it has already done in the United States in places where they legalized recreationally. They found that overall driving fatalities went down. They say cannabis impairment crashes went up, but they changed the testing protocol. They started testing every time for pot after legalization, so it appeared as though cannabis-related driving car crashes went up, but in fact fatalities went down. And I think it's because people are smoking more, drinking less, and then driving really slow on the highway, taking their time.
Or getting delivery.
Avoiding road rage. Or getting delivery too. Yeah, delivery is important.
Yeah, well, that's really exciting. I'm excited to have that come out.
It's coming.
It's not sinking.
The video ain't cooperating with us, but eventually, at some point in time, Cannabis Culture will post this video of me
It's already on the Facebook page.
It's on our Facebook page.
It's on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
Given Jody Wilson-Raybould's office a bit of a hard time, insisting that we have a meeting and pointing out the reasons why on film in front of the world. Then that's what you should do too. If you're getting hassled by the cops, pull your phone out, turn the camera on. If you're talking to your elected representatives, ask if you can record it. And do it anyway. Just record it.
Let them know that you are recording.
Let them know that you're recording it.
And survey purposes.
Well, because you want them to have some form of accountability, because you're taxes are going to pay for their work, and you want them to be responding reasonably.
Taxes are going to pay for their work, and you want them to be responding reasonably. Taxes are going to pay for their work, and you want them to be responding reasonably. Taxes are going to pay for their work, and you want them to be responding reasonably. Taxes are going to pay
to get something reasonable done to be pissed.
Sorry, I'm sparking the joint. It was just sitting there, and I just had to do it. So,
Yeah.
sorry, Craig. I'm
Go ahead,
sparking the joint.
represent. Every time we get high, we're winning the drug war a little bit more.
It was funny. You could see the cops start shifting around uncomfortably and talking into their radio
Shit, they're
as
getting
soon
high.
as we started smoking joints and smoking hash in front of them.
They're not afraid.
And you could see them getting a little bit uncomfortable when all of the activists were joking around, being like, "Let's smoke so much weed they get high too." And they're kind of like, "Could they do that? Is that a thing?"
We're gonna need reinforcements here. They're pulling out joints.
I don't know if it would be possible, but we did our damned best to try.
They're pulling out joints.
I don't know if it would be possible, but we. There's just Mikeception. Our apologies.
I echo your sentiments.
Our mic is stoned.
We're using a different computer, and it's got a different way that it's working right now.
Yeah, you know, we're doing
some technical difficulties on the fact that our resources were stolen by the pigs. So now we have other computers we have to do this with.
Thanks for that. If it's bothering you, if you guys have any complaints about the broadcast quality, call the VPD. Tweet at VPD.
Pod TV needs their shit back, man.
Yeah, that would be much appreciated.
You're not saving any kids from.
We're gonna give it another shot.
This might be it.
Are we all set?
I've got the video. One more try.
We're gonna get it all set. We're gonna roll your joint, smoke your joint. We're gonna play this video.
Last try here.
We're gonna give it a last shot. See what we can do.
Now would be a good time to get out the grinder. This is entertaining.
I apologize, guys. This is on the fly as we can make it. So.
Yeah, it's a little bit chaotic here.
It's
things
under
are starting
combat conditions is what we call this.
Right.
We're a little bit on edge too. I think a lot of people. It's a really it's a sanctuary for a lot of us. It's where we come to, relax. It's a safe place. It really is a safe place. No Malmo.
Cannabis Culture Facebook page.
All right. So if you want to see this video, go to the Cannabis Culture Facebook page. I'll try to get it up on Pot TV as soon as I can.
Sorry, guys.
There's a lot of things I'm trying to do as soon as I can. So sorry about that. We did the best we can.
That's okay. All people are expecting we do is our best.
Yep.
Was there any other questions you have for me?
Are the sideburns actually coming back again? Are they making a return?
Listen, I just shave how my cuddle buddies want me to shave. So.
Right. Red Bull gives you wings, buddy.
They wanted the Robbie Krieger sideburns, so I gave them the Robbie Krieger sideburns.
There you go.
Chop, chop, brother. Well, thanks for coming through, Malmo. We appreciate it, man. Let us know if you get that meeting, hey?
Yeah, oh, for
Let us
sure.
know if you
guys will be the first to know. I'll definitely be writing about that either way.
Wow, that's cool, man. Thank you for coming through.
Puff tough, keep your heads held high.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Mel.
Pleasure having you on as always. Today on Cannabis Culture News Live, because I normally have you on the 420 Lifestyle Show.
Impromptu. Yeah, we'll get you on an episode of Expert Joints Live too. We got to make that happen.
So, we also have here a fellow protester, fellow community member, and Cannabis Culture family member.
And you saw him in the video earlier that we ran, the little broadcast, little clip there. We saw, "What the hell is wrong with you?"
And you see him in a lot of our videos.
Pod TV.
Neil Magnuson.
We got
Fellow
Mr. Neil
revolutionaries.
Magnuson in the house.
Fellow pissed off Canadians.
Disappointed.
What a range of emotions going on now. Holy smokes.
The tough
Tell
thing
us,
is
tell us the first few that you're feeling, that first few that come to mind. How are you feeling, Neil?
You know, I've been at this for a long time. I had an epiphany almost 13 years ago. I had to quit my job to start doing something about it because I got really pissed off about how bad this whole situation is. I've never woke up a day less pissed off than I was that day. I hide it well because being pissed off and being in that angry state doesn't really help be effective in changing things. But I'm so pissed off, and now I'm pissed off even more than that. So it's been like 12 and a half, 13 years of being more pissed off every day. And now I'm really pissed off. I mean, they are trying everything they can to force a revolution in this country. We haven't had a revolution in the world for a while in this part of the world, and we're getting close. I mean, to really actually motivate cannabis consumers to the point of getting up and doing something en masse, that's saying something, because we're pretty laid back and chill people. But we've been taking a lot for a long time, and they're all trying to cut off the head of our organization like that. Outrage doesn't begin to say what I feel about this whole thing.
The revolution will be televised.
Vancouver is the heart of Canada's cannabis community, and Cannabis Culture Headquarters is the heart of the cannabis community in Vancouver.
Parker, stop chewing your foot.
Oh, dog. Oh,
At least he's
dog.
chewing his own foot. I'm
Right?
okay with that.
No, seriously, that's enough.
No, and we're all brothers and sisters in this, and there's millions and millions of us around the world, and they're continuing to attack us. This is a real shame for Canada that this is going on, that we would elect with a majority government from underdogs to a majority government on a platform of legalization, and to have some 50,000 arrests since that happened, and to have them raid 100, 200, I don't know how many dispensaries have been raided since Trudeau, but it's over 100, I'm sure. And it's,
Oh, well.
you know, when are they going to get it? It's 2017, Justin. It's 2017.
It's the final hurrah, man. It's their last stab
at it. It's time we stop the bullshit. Everybody knows what's going on. We're all under corporate control here. You're trying to exploit us and monopolize our choices and our consumption, and it's over because it's bullshit. And somehow, one way or another, we're not going to take this anymore. And our leaders are going to lead the way out of this. So Justin, get on the right side of this. VPD, get on the right side of this. I can't believe they would do that. That those people would stand there. Thank you for chasing one away in tears, and the rest of them, I'm sure, are having a hard time sleeping because they got told a lot of truths there that day.
Plus, now they have to buy a lot of their coworkers' beer because they were on TV, from what the rumors go.
And their weed dealers are probably cutting them off too for what they do.
Yeah, that's right.
I called it out. I was like, you're probably going to go home and say, man, I had such a stressful day. And since you live in Vancouver, you're probably going to roll one up and puff one down right afterwards.
That they got from Organigram,
I've met-
Nitro, Mac, whatever.
I'd say about 90% of the people that I've met in Vancouver smoke weed. And this isn't just because I'm in the cannabis community. I just mean in general. And the ones that don't are super cool with it. And they're like, oh, you smoke weed? Hey, my other friend really likes weed. Like, you guys should smoke weed together. You know what I mean?
It's way beyond that. It's not even smoking weed anymore. It's people are using it for their cosmetics. It's in the cars that they're driving. It's in the food that they're eating, and as hemp hearts.
I eat hemp hearts every single day.
Every single day. Diets that don't smoke weed at all. So
I don't even eat food.
I made fresh bread the other day, and I decided I wanted to make bread that had hemp hearts in it, and that's not something that's available. So I decided to make myself some fresh homemade bread, and I put a bunch of hemp hearts in it, and it's great.
How was that banana bread yesterday that the ladies from the Herb Life brought through?
I gave it all to the lounge. I'll have to check. I don't imagine there's any leftovers. It usually isn't.
There you go.
Especially if it was a long day. I'm sure that the staff appreciated some edibles.
So I'm kind of upset.
Yeah, everybody is.
I mean, I'm glad they're out. I think the bail was cheap, wasn't it?
$30,000 each.
That's a statement by the judge, isn't it? Because they're being charged with a lot,
There's a lot to be charged with. We'll get more information from them soon. There'll be a statement of some sorts coming out, and a Twitter and Facebook tirade.
They were talking conditions already on the radio there, that they're not allowed to run any of the businesses. They're not allowed to be in possession or use cannabis unless they have a license to do so. So that should be easy enough, hopefully. With the stress they're under, any doctor would, I'm sure, allow them to smoke what has worked for them for years. So or consume.
Yeah, it's a tough situation for sure that we're in here. But it being our headquarters, you were able to see why cannabis culture has been successful for as long as it's been successful, because everyone really pulled together in a really peaceful and powerful and amazing way. And it's guns versus flowers, and the guns won't win.
They're losing.
They're losing.
They've been losing for a long time, but it's more than that too. It's criminal what they're doing, and we all know that, and the public needs to know that. They also need to know that we've been lied to through the teeth about cannabis. It's not like cannabis is a dangerous drug, just not as dangerous as what they said that it was. Cannabis is not a dangerous drug. It is a supplement. When used properly, it's a benefit in so many ways in people's lives. The abuse of we're not on air?
We are.
Oh, we are. Okay, cool. The abuse of cannabis, whatever that is, doesn't result in any deaths, doesn't result in much cost to us, and the benefits result in so much benefit and wealth to those that are using it and to our society. To continue to criminalize those that would make that intelligent preference just drives me crazy. It's time this ended. I hope this is the catalyst to do that. It's criminal, and they need to be persecuted for what they're doing. A crime is intentionally causing harm to people. And the nature of the crime and the nature of the penalty is based on how much damage they prove that you did. In the case of cannabis prohibition, the damage done to people in arresting them, in the penalties against our society, and giving people criminal records, in the cost of our courts and our police and all the rest of it, is so huge it's hard to fathom. And if there's an old blindfolded woman holding a set of scales that we're putting the damage done on one side of, you can't even see where that side of the set of scales are. It's out of sight. So it's a heinous crime that's going on here. And they've known it. And that's the thing. It's intentionally causing harm. It's not like our leaders have for a long time thought that cannabis is really addictive and dangerous and we got to keep our young people from being stupid and lazy and all that kind of ridiculous lies. They've known for a long time that it's a focusing tool, it's an anti-violence tool, it's a supplement to your endocannabinoid system, it's medicine on so many different levels, it's the best nutritional product out there. They've known all of that. They've known since 2002 when the Canadian Senate, after an extensive review, came back and said, absolutely, the prohibition of cannabis, or the attempted prohibition, is causing far more harm in our society and jeopardizing our communities way more than the abuse of cannabis ever could, whatever that is, abuse of cannabis. And here we are 15 years later now, and we've still got prime ministers overseeing the arresting of Canadian citizens for simple possession of this beneficial plant. So it's a serious, intentional, harm-causing crime that's going on here. I appealed to the VPD. I went to their board and told them all about this. And I've asked them to investigate those behind prohibition, the federal governments for generations, and who's doing it right now. They don't tell me what they're doing. I hope they're doing it. I hope you're doing it, because it's everybody's responsibility to do something if you know a crime is happening. And I made it very clear, and it is very clear, that there's a crime happening with the enforcement of this cannabis prohibition against people. Public servants don't have the right to interfere with its citizens. These are servants with their citizens, unless there's serious evidence that there's harm going on somewhere. We have no victims of this cannabis dangerous drug that they're trying to prohibit. No victims. The victims are the ones who are trying to fight the laws and are rejecting bad laws. We're the victims of these laws. So, when is it going to be accepted by the leaders and they're going to either resign, or when is it going to be accepted by police and they're going to go arrest these people, or when is it going to be accepted by the vast majority of Canadians and we're going to rise up and just do something about it? If you're as pissed as I am, start making phone calls, phone the Prime Minister's office, send emails, go to the Justice Minister's office, call your MP, go to the media and tell them what you think, talk about it to everybody you can all day, because this is the biggest story ever. This is the worst thing ever. We are wasting billions of our precious tax dollars harming Canadians and causing great disrespect for our governments and laws in the process.
And you know what the really part that bothers me is I see people in chat asking right now, I thought it was legal. And I have people asking that all the time. And the amount of people who come into the dispensaries in Vancouver all the time and say, I thought it was legal. And we explain the situation that it's not, that it's just been a whisper, a promise that hasn't happened yet.
Well, it's legal for some.
They
We've done
make
that.
it seem like it's this friendly environment. Meanwhile, there's still people, as Kirk Tusaw said, there's good people literally being put in cages for cannabis. It's 2017, and essentially the whole prison complex is just a modernization of the slave complex. So it's really fucked up. They're racist laws. They're outdated laws. They're financially backed. I was just looking at a quote. It was, where is it here?
I don't even send Parker to the kennel, okay? He goes to Grandma and Grandpa's when I'm out of town.
Ford. It was Henry Ford, who said that the cannabis would replace the oil industry. He had noted that each acre of hemp could yield about 1,000 gallons of hemp fuel, and hemp fuel is clean. If there's oil spills with hemp fuel, there's no damage to the environment because hemp fuel is clean. And he made the first Ford out of hemp. And there's pictures of them, and you can find them, where he's taking a sledgehammer to the side of the car, and there's not a dent on it. And he went public with these statements, and he said, it's going to replace this industry, and it's going to replace in this industry, and it's going to replace this industry, and you better get ready for it. And 2 years later, I think it was 2 years later, I could be wrong, sorry, I'm just impassioned about 2 years later, they decided to make it illegal in the States. So, I mean, when you see the motivations, it's just
Henry
wrong.
Ford's inaugural speech, he said that everyone in America can drive one of my vehicles on an acre of hemp, and that was his intention. There's no question that he was got to by the Rockefellers with respect to their fossil fuel monopoly, and by the time his cars came to production, they were running on fossil fuels, and hemp production became basically illegal. It was more just prohibited through a tax that had to be purchased from the federal government that wasn't available to the farmers when they went to purchase it. It was cost prohibitive in the first place, and then the government had subsidies for those farmers because your crop is your livelihood. It's you're going to live or die whether you get your crops in or not at that time of life. And so when they couldn't get the stamps to grow the hemp that they'd been growing, the government right away had subsidies for other crops to replace it, and boom, overnight they annihilated and wiped out the hemp industry in the Americas.
So we've talked about how this place is, in a lot of ways, the center of the cannabis community in this city. And you were talking earlier about how you just went, man, this is such a screwed up situation. I need to dedicate myself to this. With those two things combined, what was it that made you attracted to working with cannabis culture? Because you've been with us for a long time,
Cannabis culture?
Well, a part of the family for a long time. So what is it how do you feel personally with how this usually safe space was mistreated yesterday?
Cannabis culture has been my real family for 17, 18 years, basically, since my son and I first started going to the rallies that Mark was putting on in the park through David. It was all coming out of this particular location. We became some of the volunteers at the pot rallies by 2004, and in 2004 worked with David to open the Herb School, and quit my job to go full time on trying to end the stupid prohibition of cannabis and win us back our freedom. My whole activism has come out of this building for sure. I mean, it's connected to a lot of other groups and organizations as well that are also connected to here, but it's always been this has been my home. This is my family. You people are my family. We're brothers and sisters here. That's how I feel. I don't have much of a biological family that I have anything to do with anymore. So
Vancouver's home to a lot of travelers too. So there's a lot of people who don't get to see their family often. I don't get to see my family often because they're in Ontario. So this is my family.
I finally got mine to smarten up and move out here. So that because I told him I wasn't going back to there. But you know what? The Pod TV family, we thank everybody who's been tuning in, who's watching, has been tuning to us for the actual story of what's going on.
Sure, Pod TV is just a side branch of cannabis culture, like you said. But I think it's more than that. I think that what we do here, because we're of one heart.
Yeah.
Us brothers and sisters right across Canada and around the world, everyone I've met, I've just spent some awesome quality time with some people from Australia that are activists there, and we're all of one heart. And I think that the activists that have done what we've done here in Vancouver over this last couple of decades represent and speak for that one heart that is shared by so many other Canadians and other people around the world. So, I mean, as much as there's those that bash certain aspects of cannabis culture, and now there's dispensaries opening, and there's always going to be that. Whenever you're successful, you're going to have people bash, and I'm sure, and we're not perfect either. We're real people, and it's been quite a journey over the last couple of decades. But the group, the essence, the spirit of what emanates from all of these people that make up these different faces and personalities that are all part of what we're doing here. it all speaks to that one heart. It all does represent, what so many people feel. This is about freedom for all of us. This is about not just freeing the weed, but freeing us from oppressive governments. We speak to all the different issues really through this one medium, and so that's why it resonates the way that it does, and that we have the support that we do here. So yeah.
And thank you everyone for all of your support. Thank you for sharing and helping create awareness for the situation. There's lots of articles and pictures available right now on Cannabis Culture's Facebook. So if you're interested in helping to create more awareness, share this video, share the stuff that we have available on Facebook. Thank you so much.
It's lots of fun.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen live on Pot TV.
We're a political party, and we do mean party.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah. And all of you guys who support us and share our videos and tell people about what we do and go to our dispensaries and shop online and share Pot TV videos and watch Pot TV and watch it with their friends, and every single one of those things, it's hugely appreciated, and it makes you a part of our family too. Yeah, so thank you. You're why we do what we do. We're going to keep fighting for you. It's not going to stop. Thank you so much for coming on today,
I got another issue I got to talk about for just a minute here. I'm being brought before the courts a week from Monday.
Please talk about this.
Because of the Cannabis Day fiasco. I don't know what word, outrage doesn't begin to address what happened there in 2015 on July 1st here at the Art Gallery, where the Vancouver police tried to stop us from having our rally in a very violent way. And I've been watching the videos as we're coming up close to the court date here, and there's no question in my mind the VPD need to be charged with inciting a riot and abuse of power and probably several other counts, because that was horrific what they did there. It does not represent a free society in any way, shape, or form.
There was a cop who got in trouble because he turned to someone and went, "Pot is a gateway drug." And then the person who was in charge went, "You need to go sit and think about what you did." And he had to sit in the back of the car for a little bit. And then they switched him out for somebody else. So we had him get switched out. And then we had the girl get switched out because she just couldn't handle the guilt that she was feeling and the emotional weight it had on her, that she was violating us this way instead of saving lives when people are dying a couple blocks away. I'm going to start ranting because I'm so angry.
Plus the other problem.
A little more about this thing, dude.
The other problem was the fact that she couldn't come back with a snappy comeback. So she felt that she got burned, and it was a deep burn, and she was like, "I got nothing." And then she just teared up.
Yeah.
Cannabis edibles are a substitution for the opioids that works very effectively for many people.
Mm-hmm. Better.
Needs to be embraced and given to anybody that wants to trade their dose of possible fentanyl-laced illegal opiates for cannabis edibles. They need to have that. I heard in the 24 magazine, they said that we shouldn't be having 420 because we're going to be taking away first responders' resources and police resources that should be out fighting the fentanyl overdose crisis. Oh my God. Cannabis is one of the answers in addressing the fentanyl overdose crisis.
Neil, would you be able to come on my show on Monday to discuss your court case?
Yes, I will.
Okay, because we're just a little bit short on time right now. We've already gone over a bit, and if I know ahead of time, then we can, give you some proper coverage, and I can come up with some really good questions to ask you, so we can.
I might have a couple videos for you to share too.
Exactly.
There you go. Give you some updates. All right, perfect.
Cool.
So if you want to know some more about what's going on with Neil Magnuson's total bullshit court case,
yeah,
you can
the 2015
on Monday.
Up. Yeah.
Coming up on the 20th of March, it'll be at Main Street Courthouse. We don't have a courtroom yet that they've assigned to us.
T-minus 1 month and counting.
1 month. March 20th. We're talking 10 days.
Yeah, I know. To April 20th. That's the 1 month countdown.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. We'll be a month from 420. We're going to have quite the 420. I really want to hear what Jody has to say.
That's kind of a common buzz you hear around here is, what's Jody
gonna say?
Jody,
and others as well. There's a lot of very motivated activists right now, and a lot of other people being motivated. A lot of my friends that have stayed, sort of in the closet, gray-haired, respectable people are coming out and saying, "I can't sit in the shadows anymore. I've got to do something and say something about this." So make those calls.
And you know what? Every single time that you are willing to turn to somebody who you might not necessarily know whether or not their stance is positive or not on cannabis, every time you go, I'm okay with cannabis. I like cannabis. I consume cannabis, and I'm okay, and I'm happy, and I'm stable. That helps kill the stigmatization.
Yeah.
And even if they hear it, they have to hear it 200 different people say it, eventually they'll figure it out. So
if those that are not in favor of cannabis use really knew all the people that were using cannabis to help them be who they are, they would be shocked, because so many professionals, so many artistic people, so many good people are using cannabis in their lives because it's the intelligent preference.
I don't know how much it's true. Who knows when it's chat?
Role model?
But somebody was saying in the chat when I was doing the live stream, I've actually smoked pot with one of the cops there. Like, what a fucking hypocrite. I've puffed with him. So it's kind of a fucked up situation. Okay, so tune in on Monday at 4 o'clock to see Neil Magnuson discuss his court case as well as a couple other issues. Wednesday.
Probably some updates on what's happened over the weekend.
Yes, I'm sure there will be more rants. On Wednesday, we've got... That's funny. On Wednesday, we've got From Under the Influence with Marijuana Man Greg Williams, who is rocking it at the Broadway location of Cannabis Culture, which is open. We had a couple people who were asking. It was closed yesterday. We closed a lot of our dispensaries.
We didn't know what was happening for a minute there.
Yeah. So Greg will be in on Wednesday. I'm sure he'll have a lot to say on Wednesday.
I can only imagine when Mr. Williams got a thing to say. He got to have a little flashback moment from fucking...
I know Ali Alchemist is in Spain at the moment. I'm not sure if he's going to be back for a show on Wednesday or not, but I'm hoping the lovely Kush Queen will be there as well on Wednesday.
With a shirt with something to say.
Yeah. Who's going to be there on Thursday?
This Thursday, we've got Chris from Remedy Ice Cream. We're going to try some Weed Infused ice cream. We've also got Damian Robertson, the tattoo artist, as well as the the Canadian veteran who I interviewed about PTSI. And yeah, it should be a good show. Also, some products from the squad, I believe, as well too. No Parker on this episode, but always something to toke up and tune in for on Expert Joins Live. Make sure you're there Thursday, 4:20. I'll be doing it. Can't wait. And of course, hopefully, next week we'll get Jeremiah Vandermeer here back for Cannabis Culture News. Johnny B, the actuals, not us phony stand-ins here. We doing it. We appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Glad I could help a little bit.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming down and making it so if Craig wasn't here, I would have had to do just the Facebook live stream with no YouTube in it. It would have been off of my iPod. And also thank you, Alyssa, who it isn't really her job to be here on Fridays, and she's here producing for us anyways, and she is boss, and we love her.
AKA Cover Girl.
And a great face to represent the company.
Yeah, right.
She's amazing. And we love her.
Right. Sit on that shit, Alyssa.
My last name is Bale.
Oh yes, on the newspaper that she was on the cover, her last name was spelled incorrectly, but her first name was spelled right. And in the actual story that was describing the situation, her first name is spelled wrong and her last name is spelled right. So it's
just make sure you
clearly
spell
an editorial issue.
Make sure you spell it Cannabis Culture. Yeah, right. Make sure you spell it Cannabis Culture on Twitter, on Instagram, on the .coms. Make sure you spell Pot TV Network in your Instagram as well as pot.tv. We got Carly Marley 420. We got Magnus and Neil over here. I'm Expert Joints. This is Parker Bowe. She's Boss Lissa. It's Friday Cannabis Culture News. I guess what I'm going to say is I would normally say hit the music. What does Jerry usually end his show? How do you usually say?
He usually says peace.
Okay.
Me and Elizabeth say the same.
Well, then I guess...